Now, what are you all about?
I farm poops while I'm streaming.
I taunt that thing. I really can't hear shit.
That's what I do.
Okay, so now's a poop farmer. All right, so we're about to get these guys on. Let me get all their names on the text thing. Calling it up. What's up, Driney? How do you feel about your spec being delayed a week?
I mean, the entire class has been delayed a week. There's a lot of, just in the general class tree, there's a lot of things that just don't work at all right now. A lot of NYI still.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried as much about the NYIs. Like there's classes that have great trees that are in the, like Rogue is like basically doesn't work. Like none of its stuff works, but
I mean, there's just like in the prod tree, there's just silly like decimals they missed. I don't know how they missed that. Like
some wild fucking stuff.
A lot of unfinished stuff.
Yeah, also, just to be clear, that's the kind of stuff that I don't want to talk about like at all today, because I just imagine like in 1 or 2 alpha builds, like stuff like that doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. This is more for like pathing and bad decisions, which there are plenty of those too, like for sure. Like getting your kick having to go through like a Hodge thing, right? Like that's weird, right? We can kind of, and there's a couple of like placeholder nodes where you just get like haste and crit. I think those are like lazy in a lot of trees. You have some 3-point nodes that don't feel very good. You guys have a lot of things. We'll probably go over it as a general thing. So just to give you guys an idea of the actual like layout of how this will go. Naowh's not here yet, but I'll let you guys introduce yourselves in a second. But we're gonna like kind of all go over the class tree, talk about general things in it that feel really good and cool. We're gonna not talk about pathing as much, but just things that exist on there that you think are maybe should be rethought or not very great. And then we will go through one of you at a time, or one spec at a time, including Holy, because the Holy general tree does exist this week, and kind of talk about how you would path in like a raid or a Mythic Plus scenario, and then talk about the decisions that feel good and the decisions that feel bad, placement that's good, placement that's bad, a lot of things that have been brought for feedback, especially with like Hunter and Shaman within 1 week was like able to get some things changed and moved around. So there's definitely a lot like that kind of feedback specifically on placement and decisions that don't feel good are stuff to kind of focus in on. And then after that, we're not going to be talking about Holy until way later. So we're going to talk to Naowh and Scott about the Prot Paladin specific tree, build out a tree for like raid Mythic Plus, talk about what you would swap, see how much cool decisions there are, see what your power level's like. Same thing with Ret after that. And then we'll do a quick thing with Holy, just talking about some of the stuff that's been data mined, and just think about what you kind of want out of the tree. The Holy thing won't be long at all, like probably 10 or 15 minutes of like what you guys are looking for or what you would like to see. And that'll be after that. It's probably like an hour and a half from now or so. So starting with Driney, what are you all about?
I am a healer in Liquid. I mainly play Paladin, Holy Paladin for the guild, and occasionally play other healers during like heroic splits and all that. But yeah, mainly just a Holy Paladin guy.
Have you ever actually played another healer in progression for us? Other than you play a lot of alts and farm.
Played a bit of Shaman on Sludge Fist progression back in
I remember that.
I think Twisted was having internet problems or something.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, cool. And then Myth.
I played Holy Paladin for Pieces for the last 2 or 3 years. Just joined Liquid. I write the Icy Veins guide for Holy Paladin as well. I play a little bit of Rest of Druid on the side, but the last expansion or 2, it's mainly just been Holy Paladin.
Cool. Narcolies.
Just Raider and Echo. Mainly play Paladin and DK, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like you kind of turn into like a the D. I don't know. Did you actually do DK before Sepulchre and Progression?
Yeah, I was a DK main for Warlords. And then after that, I was pretty much Paladin / DK.
Yeah, I was about to say the only time I've known of you has been like, you know, because like both of our guilds like ran a Ret for like a lot of BFA, and then like it hasn't been as good for multiple reasons, which we can get into later in this expansion.
Yeah.
I also love playing Ret, so I'm like really interested to talk about that. So there's Narco and Bolas.
Hey, yeah, I write the Whitehead guide for Ret, and I just do a lot of the Simcraft work with the APL, stuff like that for it as well.
Cool.
Think about Ret a lot.
All right, cool. Now, what are you all about?
I farm poops while I'm streaming.
I taunt that thing. I really can't hear shit.
That's what I do.
Okay, so Naowh's a poop farmer, has played, I think, almost every tank in World First Progression at some point, at least in preparation, but I think most of them in actual practice. And then Scott?
Play tank for Liquid and used to play Ret Pelly back in the day as well, so interested in the Pellet tree for sure.
Oh, cool. You can actually stick around for that if you'd like as well. I usually have like people drop calls in between to like go take a break or something. But if any of you guys want to stick around for the other classes, you're certainly welcome to. But yeah, Scott. And the main reason I got Scott and Naowh for today, I talked about having like Mirez or Ben on as well. But of the World First Race tanks currently, Scott and Naowh have been the ones primarily playing Paladin. So they've had a ton of use for that class in this expansion. And we'll kind of talk about what prospects it looks like for the upcoming expansion. Next thing, we're just going to talk about the class tree for the next little bit. This is an all people involved thing. This is not super formal. It can go in a lot of different directions. But the first thing I want to talk about is stuff you guys see on this tree in general, like capstone related or utility related, like spell wording's probably a big one, where you guys like to see that and you think that's actually like a good thing for Paladin going forward.
The most obvious thing is horse, yeah. Like why do you have to spec into this and waste so many talents points into it? I don't understand.
So
2 points in horse.
It makes no sense, dude.
Like, I think I'd probably be happy if the point in horse was also like the duration was percentage rather than like 1 second. Like you put 2 points in for 2 seconds. It's ridiculous.
They made a blue post with it today. With they put like the wrong rank of horse in. It's supposed to be 45-second cooldown instead of the minute recharge.
Yeah,
well, still, that's not going to change anything.
Yeah, it's definitely like other classes don't have to do that, right? Like I think like DK, for example, has like a point for Death's Advance, but then you have like another point later that gives it like a second charge, right? That's fine.
It's just like what you lose like so much damage by literally gaining 2 seconds of horse, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that separates this tree from a couple others. Like there's very clearly, if you guys are looking at my screen, like 2 different designs that people are going with. And obviously these are most of these are made by different people. So this one follows a lot of like the DK tree, for example, where DK on the way down is picking between a lot of utility. And then at the bottom, its capstones are entirely about throughput. Same thing with Paladin, same thing with Rogue, same thing with Mage, that just came out as well. But classes like Druid, Evoker, Shaman, their entire class tree is all centered around capstones being, if you're going to invest this much down at this level, we just want you to look at utility. And a lot of those have had like a lot better decision makings, but it's really hard to compare a tree that is focusing on throughput capstones to one that isn't. So I think the only thing you can really compare this to is a lot of the thinking that goes into some of the trees where they decided, okay, the end of this tree is going to be focused on doing damage or doing healing.
Like
how it feels
like
to
for
those.
Example, look on the right side where interrupt is. Under interrupt, like that is the most insane talent I've seen. Right under interrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
20%
Initial damage one? Yeah, that thing is.
Yeah, and then you have the one right below that, 2% speed and avoidance. Like what? But you kind of have to go that to just go down, because
I mean, the issue is you want Mad Paragon anyway, so you kind of force to the right side.
Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah. We'll see that more when we actually build it too. But I think here's their thinking. Holy Paladin, I assume is going to start on lay on hands. So they start over here, and their first choice will be Devotion. So Ret starts with Hammer, and Prot starts over there. I think they want Holy Paladin to have to like invest into something they potentially don't want to get Rebuke. The exact same argument would be made for the other healer that gains a kick now in Resto Druid. So like a Resto Druid naturally goes down this path of thinking where they get these points. But then to get Interrupt, they have to go into this 3-point talent before they can get Skull Bash. So it's like a pretty heavy investment to get Kick, but they clearly designed it that way. So a class that currently doesn't have it can get it in the right situation, but it's not just for free. And I think that's their idea for why it's there, because I think they assume Prot and Ret are going down this side of the tree anyway. So
Absolutely.
yeah, you go right.
So you're just naturally getting it, and Holy Paladin is clearly designed to go left. So I think Kick being over here is fine for that reason, because like Holy Paladin's having Kick is good, but it shouldn't be like free for them, I think.
Obviously they want us to go right side, right? But let's say you're the only Paladin in the raid, you still have to spec into Retribution Aura to go that right side.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You get Red Aura automatically if you're a Red at least.
Yeah, but you kind of have to go this to go down the path. That's kind of what I mean, yeah. You need to actually spec into it, right? Or do you get it automatically when you spec?
No, you Red Aura, you just get automatically, yeah.
So you can still only have one aura as well, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
no, you have 3, right?
Oh no, I mean like one you can have active at any
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And the Ret Aura,
that's-
got changed as well, right? Like Ret Aura now gives you wings when someone drops below 50 instead of like when someone dies, which is really
It's
like, that's a
Seraphim,
big
right?
change. Well, Seraphim,
No, it's Seraphim.
Yeah.
which is like It's a big change. Like that's actually a useful aura now versus.
It says
like,
I get
where-
wings though when I'm in game. Is that intentional
It's
or not?
both.
No, you
Yeah.
get both. So you still get wings for 8 seconds when someone dies, but the new one is you. Oh,
Oh,
are
okay,
you
yeah.
saying? Yeah, the not yet implemented part is the one where it's now, and I assume it's 50. Is it 50% in one hit or 50% total health? I don't know if anyone actually tested that, or it's not yet implemented, so there's no way to
You
test
can't
it.
test it.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's no
but, like,
way.
some-
If it's 50%, that's kind of useless. I don't know.
and it
I
also
think it's
is
50%
kind of weird.
total.
Because if you look at like what classes are required to bring to a raid right now, this isn't exactly true. Like you could kill a really hard mythic boss without a 3% damage reduction passive, but it sounds kind of fucking insane to do that, right? So like basically a 3% damage reduction, 1 paladin in the raid is required. In this expansion, if you only had a ret and you didn't have a holy, this wasn't really the case, but you would have to run like devotion aura, right? Like that is like something you have to bring. It's like one issue is like maybe a way to buff ret or make ret feel better is that like, oh, well, they're running retribution aura. Okay, that's sick. Well, if you're the only paladin in the raid, you're not actually going to be able to run that because you're going to have to run devo and spec it and lose throughput, right? Because I don't think you get devo passively if you start as a ret paladin. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, so you'd have to grab lay on hands and concentration. And if you look at like how you path down the tree with what's required, you're probably losing throughput to have to do that, and your guaranteed node is wasted. So
There's a crit damage on the way you have to take
Yeah.
away, so you don't actually lose anything.
oh, true. Yeah,
I don't know if you would take
Yeah.
that though.
But
I
it's still
actually
like
don't know.
it's still really shit.
Yeah,
But I mean, if it's gonna be 4%, then
we'll
it's like
build.
that.
We'll build through the trees together in a second, and kind of just talk about how where each spec is going to go in most scenarios, and obviously talk about the choices because it's important to actually see where the decision making. Like looking at nodes right now that you're automatically getting, it's kind of lame, but it's only when you talk about the pathing for it, and if you're running out of trees, because like what your tree wants is you want to have interesting decisions based on the content. Like for a lot of classes, it's cool to be able to spec out of multi-shot on a pure single target fight and grab an extra point in something that only matters for single target, right? And other classes are, forced to take Flame Strike for mage or potentially, well, you'd want Divine Storm probably in single target for this proc, but the point is like you're able to actually select that. But the difference is some classes are getting everything they have currently and just a bunch of new cool stuff, and they're able to like try new combos they never have before. And some classes are just stuck choosing between things they already have, and they're clearly not gaining a ton of power levels. Shaman is the most insane example of this, where they have everything they have currently, plus they're just on crack with a bunch of new stuff and new damage profiles, and they're just insane. Where do you guys think like holy or just paladins in general are going to fall into this expansion? I think the biggest thing to talk about too, as far as like good things before we talk about stuff that really needs work, is I think the fact that Ret and Holy Paladin can bring spell warding is very, very insane. This is something that has always been brought by Prop Paladin when you've had to run it. You never brought a Prop Paladin for it specifically outside of a few fights, but when you did, it was just something that changed the way you dealt with AoE mechanics, right? What do you guys think about that?
It is cool. It's just they have been kind of taking those things out of the game, slowly. Like immuning big mechanics with just straight up spell warding and immunities. Ever since Legion, they've been taking that slowly out of the game. So really, it's going to come down to the fights.
Yeah, it's very situational point.
I think it can be good though. If you look at
it's definitely a personal thing. I can say Red Paladin needed maybe
like one or two fights that here I think they can be useful on.
Yeah, but
I was gonna say you also need to sack like your own, Shield of Vengeance and Divine Shield, your own survivability to get spell warding. And Red Paladins don't really have a lot of survivability. I think that's the main issue. You don't really get anything in the red tree, and you still only have your, Bubble and Shield of Vengeance. But if you get that on a longer cooldown now for spell warding, I don't know how you live, but maybe you find a way. But I don't know.
Shield of Vengeance is a joke. They'd always been a joke.
Yeah. Damage ability that's pertained to be a defensive.
Of the classes in the game that are very clearly at a lower level of defensiveness than everyone else, off the top of my head, it is Ret Paladin, it is Old Frost Mage before they just got Greater Invis, so they're no longer on this list. It's all specs of Hunter, it's Healer Priests, and I don't think there's any other class that's anywhere close to those people. Those people, if you're doing a boss like Sludge Fist with a massive hit to your raid, those are the people, regardless of it being physical damage, those are the people that are in danger more often throughout the fight because they just have less tools to deal with it. I was definitely expecting Red Paladin to get Divine Protection. I was expecting Divine Protection to actually baseline.
I was hoping for it, but I don't know.
I was praying.
Yeah, I
They seem
saw
very
Holy
sick and
Aegis,
not
and
being very
I
defensive.
assumed when I saw the Holy Aegis icon, which is like the 2-pointer on the left, like I thought that was just gonna be Divine Protection, but then it was fucking 2% passive crit and armor, and I was like, yeah, that's good.
Pretty much what they did is they made us a tiny bit more tanky. Yeah, this is Ret, but they pretty just nerfed our movement. That's the sad part.
You feel like you're tankier as Ret?
Yeah,
Nothing's
with
really
spell
changed.
wording, with spell
Oh, sure.
wording, you're tankier. Yeah, like that was
Definitely.
the one thing that
guess,
Rest
yeah.
needed. They needed a magic defense because Shield of Vengeance is useless half the time. Like dots will literally break it before it's actually needed. You know, unless you
Yeah.
time it like incredibly well. And we needed some damage reduction like the one that Holy has, 20% or whatever it is. And the spell wording will fix that a lot. It's very good. But then
Yeah,
we lose Horse. We'll show it later. We're not gonna pick Freedom anymore. It's a lot
But
of
that has
loss
nothing to
around.
do with really. Isn't it mainly the fact that it's like in the bottom part of the tree, so you would sacrifice the damage if you want to swim?
No,
You already
that's
like
the
your-
issue. See, that's so if you
Yeah.
look, I'm so glad you brought that up with Freedom specifically. So like what other classes do, if you fill out, and I wish I had one pre-filled out for this situation, but if you just look at any spec of Shaman and you fill out their whole tree with whatever is good, I'm just gonna like select a whole bunch of shit, right? Like you get to the bottom, you get what you need, you get your speed, you grab your Ankh thing, you get Gust of Wind, you get AG, whatever the fuck, passive damage reduction, healings, and then you get AG, and now you're sitting here with like, what is this? 6 points. You have all the throughput you could ever get on the tree right now as elemental. And you have 6 points if you need it to grab
I
Cap on a
wish.
fight, to grab Cleanse Spirit on a fight, to grab Greater Purge, to grab Windrush Totem, to grab an extra personal. I'm not I'm not even unselecting these things. There's still 3 more points like to select Totemic Projection to get Earth Shield. Like there's there's 6 points remaining after every bit of throughput you could ever want on your tree is gone. You can get stuff fight specific. On Paladin, you're selecting Blessing of Freedom and you're losing damage for it most likely if you need it on a fight. That decision feels horrible.
I haven't really looked at the Shaman one or any of the other ones a lot, but it's just the Paladin which just has some completely useless talents, like the one I told you about the 2 speed and avoidance. Obviously, 2 avoidance is good, but then you have the 2 armor and crit. It's like compare these talents to some other ones like Divine Purpose that is right next to it, or Bop, or even getting like 60 seconds of wings. Like you have so many good talents you can pick, and then you have 2% crit.
You still feel like kind of forced into the 2% crit though, because it's like it's
Yeah,
still
that's,
through.
yeah. You have to go Blinding Light and 2% crit.
Yeah,
It's like-
yeah. It's been so many points to get to it.
Basically, every point so far on any tree where it's plus strength, crit, or haste or stuff like that, that to me is just like they ran out of nodes and had to put something there.
It's just
Yeah.
And it definitely doesn't feel good. Also, this specific node, this won't stay in the thing. Like this is getting reduced to a 45-second cooldown. This reminds me of the Survival Hunter node before they fixed it, where it was a 3-point talent and every single point gave you 1 extra yard of melee range, right? So I mean, it's just like a terrible point. This is what that feels like, right?
What if they would just remove that one and make the horse 1 second baseline longer, and then have the 2-second one actually lead somewhere, the 2 charges? Like if that path actually led somewhere useful, then
Oh, so you could
that
skip
would
Fist
actually
of Justice? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like in raid, I'm not gonna use that a lot. Like that's like in plus in PvP, and raid's barely stunned.
Look at the talent below the increased horse. I mean, no one's ever going to pick that.
No, I mean if
I
it was on the
don't
other
know.
side, yeah. Like,
I think
yeah,
you could see. Here's the thing. I think stuff like this is actually cool. Where when you're on your horse, or you're under Crusader Aura, you just have an extra 3 yards on all of your or most of your abilities. I think that's cool if it's like your throughput's good to go, and this is like one of 4 things, and you're choosing between like a little extra raid healing with Judgment of Light, or a little, or having freedom on this specific fight like Fate Scribe, or having you know what I mean? Like that's where these nodes are not. They're not necessarily bad. They're only bad on trees where you feel like you're fiending for throughput so much that you are, every single one of these points just feels bad because it's in the way to get what you want. Like this. Like imagine having a 20% increased damage to all your spenders. Like that's
that should
insane.
not be in the class trader. That's I don't know.
It's a PvP talent for sure. Like they removed the ranged on judgment in PvP talents, so that effectively is just a PvP talent. Like kick range, like that's actually good in PvP. Like
Yeah, you're
getting
probably right
kick
about that.
range, and it's definitely for PvP. Which I mean, I guess the problem with like how PvP talents are still like the old system is that a lot of PvP talents are going to come into the class tree, and you kind of just have to deal with that. It's not much you can really, because like that talent kind of has to exist, even though you obviously don't want it to.
I think they could buff this and it would actually be really cool. Like imagine if Ret could choose to use one of its, or Prot can use one of its horse charges to just give them 10 to 15 yard range for a short duration. Right? That would actually
It's
be
just it's just like the abilities it hits is really bad as well. It's literally kick, hodge, and then like your like Crusader Strike.
Yeah,
equivalent.
Crusader Strike, Hammer the Righteous. Yeah, like pretty basic stuff. It's not like hard spenders. I'm thinking more of like an aspect of the Eagle Survival Hunter thing, where an actual point like this, that's the power level of what the point would have to be something you would actually consider on this tree. So we've talked about like the good and the bad. This is actually going to be pretty quick. You don't have to spend a ton of time talking about decision making, but I do want to take you guys with your specs one by one and talk about how you guys can fill this out. There's 2 people per spec. You guys can work together. One of you can carry it and one can comment. Totally fine. And what we want to do is don't do this, right? Like, oh, well, we're going to grab everything in the top and then just do that. Like, actually talk about every point you get. And then as soon as we get 8 to move on, we stop, even if you still want stuff up here. This is not probably the case in this tree. And then we'll go on. And then basically that allows us to, let's just say we go down here, we grab this, you grab Avenging Wrath, you grab Bop, whatever. And then you're like, okay, well, we need 5 more points. What are the natural ways to think about this? Going at it from that angle highlights way better of like the actual decisions you make along the way rather than just looking at like a final product kind of thing. So let's start with that. Let's do Prop Paladins first. If you guys want to take me down the tree and show what general build you would run for most content. If there's anything majorly different between Raid and Mythic Plus, let me know.
Do you want to go, Scott, or should I go?
You go, because you said you wanted Mad Paragon, and when I did mine, I didn't get down there, so I want to see what you...
Oh, you didn't get it?
I just think it's too nerfed, but maybe there's a way down there that's better.
Yeah, I feel like Mad Paragon, it depends on if your, what is it called, in your prot tree, like the Sentinel thing, if it actually stays even if Wings goes away, or if you lose it, if you lose Wings as well. I mean, we haven't been able to test it, so I don't know. But it's reading like combining, with Avenging Wrath. So if you lose Wings, you might lose that as well. So I don't know. That's why I think it's pretty good. And like Dusk of Dawn, did you go down on Dusk of Dawn instead then, I guess, right?
Yeah, Dusk of Dawn didn't seem too bad. There's definitely a few points around there that felt pretty good.
Before we actually do the Pro Tree, I did forget to mention this. How do all of you guys feel about Of Dusk and Dawn as a potential like kind of capstone idea thing with Seal of Order at the bottom? To me, it just seems strange.
As a Holy Pally, like you're pretty much kind of forced to go that way. In Raid, at least, no one even thought of taking this legendary all of Shadowlands, or they considered it at all being a good legendary, and they kind of just made it default for Holy Pally and Raids going into Dragonflight, and it just seems kind of silly they put it that far down in the tree. It's kind of forced it to be picked.
And also, as opposed to like other trees that are similar to this, you guys are like kind of hard set into going where you're going to go. Like Ret is going down the middle and grabbing the right? And then Prot can choose between doing that. But Holy is like you're going left. It's like Holy got its own spot. Even in every other tree with a healer spec, they didn't necessarily do that. Everything at the bottom was relevant to everyone. I like really doubt that these Word of Glory traits and this stuff is going to be like where you're going for Ret potentially, right? Like it's following a Word of Glory node, right? Like I think
it's for PvP, the left side for Rets at least.
Yeah,
I think it could actually be pretty good.
Stuff.
The 10% finisher damage at the very bottom one is like kind of pretty strong, and you get pretty high uptime on Dawn. I don't know if it's better than Mad Paragon, but it's like it has potential.
Or what, Ret or?
Yeah, for Ret.
Well, it depends if you go Crusader or not.
I mean, also just speaking about Dusk and Dawn, I was really hoping they would get rid of Holy Power going into this next expansion because I absolutely hate the system. I guess we're stuck with it for another expansion. I'm sure Ret also does not like it. I feel like it's kind of like Rage. Like you kind of can't do anything until you have 3 Holy Power, and it kind of feels pretty bad when you're under that 3 Holy Power. You're kind of just waiting, to generate your Holy Power to press your big, damaging buttons.
I don't like it either. The Ret has some interesting stuff where you can go some sort of passive build with Holy Power generation, but then you have no single target almost. So
yeah, I was looking at that. The Consecrate stuff.
Yeah, they had it's insanely cool, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna beat the single target build. So
yeah. All right, back to the prot thing. All right, send me down now.
We can go down the left side of the tree. I don't mind. I actually don't know like what's best, but if we started in the top, you would obviously take Hammer of Wrath and Red Aura because you need to go down and take the haste.
Oh, I see. Hammer Wrath, Red Aura, and then okay.
Yeah, because you want to go down that tree anyway for your like finisher damage, and then obviously you need Horse, but you also need the left side. So I mean, either Blinding Light.
So for now, let's not go 2 charges just to make sure we're able to go down because this is armor and crit. You've now unlocked.
Yeah, you need that.
So we'll come back to Cavalier later if we have an extra point.
And then
Avenging Wrath.
Wings, obviously, and then Judgment, and then Bop because you need to go down there anyway. And then are we talking rating or M plus?
Let's start with rating and then we'll alter it for M plus afterwards very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, but you get the improved judgment as well. And then I think divine purpose. I mean, it depends on math, right? Yeah. I have the divine purpose, but
one of these two. They're both good.
Yeah, and then you also want Seal of Reprisal, which is like above the rights. So you need kick, or you can go, I guess, Seal of the Templar if you really don't need kick. But you need to kick to
yeah, let's
get...
say it's a raid fight in this scenario. Plus, it'll be easier to transfer to Mythic Plus. Let's just take kick.
And then Speed and Avoidance as a tank is not super needed. And then from this point, it like depends if you want to go down like the left side or the right side.
Yeah, you
I'll
definitely
probably
have.
take Judgment here.
Yeah.
Like Judgment of Light's really good. I think it's just like passive healing. Right? It's not.
Yeah, for
a
raiding,
single
I agree.
point.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do have 3 points before you can actually go down to the bottom of the tree anyway. So you're
Probably
thinking.
do that sack, because sack's just always good. And I like that. I think After Image is pretty good. I mean, you do a lot of healing to the raid as a prop belly, and like 30% of your Word of Glory as a prop belly is actually like quite a lot of healing. Like if it crits as well, like I think that's
It's a lot
like
of passive
value
healing for
point.
sure.
I wonder if
Yeah.
it's nearby ally. I wonder if it's a smart heal at all. Probably not. But either way, and I think you have 2 choices here. So if you're not going down the left side of the tree, you could definitely consider one minute sack. That's definitely something that I think we didn't really talk about. The fact that every spec of Paladin can bring a 1 minute 30% DR is very fucking good in raid.
Yeah, I think Recompense looks like really good, but it looks interesting. But I mean, I don't think.
Yeah,
It would be like a very specific fight to
more
take
to
that
talk
much
about for
damage
Red
where it'd
Paladin.
be a lot.
That might be like the grab every single potential throughput node, and then you just sack on cooldown for damage and shit.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of cringe, honestly. But
The thing with sack though, I actually did a lot of M pluses with, and like if you sack someone, if you sack the tank, you die. Like if you take like the full damage from
Yeah,
sack, you literally straight up just die. It's crazy.
I
Even
think
if a
second
tank-
isn't in the
yeah.
game either at the moment. And
This is more of a prot thing because prot's the only class that could sack their off tank and not like instantly drop. Because like when I
Yeah.
get sacked in raid, like the Holy Paladin usually drops and then sack goes off at 20%.
yeah,
Like,
that's
it
something I
just
was thinking about
cancels.
with recompense. Is like imagine sacking a non-blood decay tank, like taking the jailer dot in like P2 of jailer, but it's like. Yes, it would give you a ton of damage from recompense, but you'd also definitely die. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd be able to do that.
Like Rygon's guy, you would call for my sack every time you soaked an orb or intermission. I was scared for my life every time. I pretty much had to
Yeah.
like hellstone every time I
But
sacked
it
in that
leads to
intermission.
huge fucking dams. So
Okay, so
Well,
we
let me
grab this.
consider
Let's stay open on the left right now. Actually, I'll just take it out of recompense and put it in the left just in case. All right, so where do you want to go? If you wanted to
we
get
spend-
mad Paragon, I think at this point you're deciding whether you're going middle, right? So
You always go
Yeah.
middle, I think. Doesn't matter because you need the mastery and then depending on the fight,
yeah, one of
either
these
spell
two.
warding or so you can go spell warding if it's a medic fight, I guess. And then I would also go 3 points in the mastery during wings.
Ooh, okay. I want to take these out for now because at least for Ret, when I was looking at it, this is like you're choosing
destroys
utility.
you.
Yeah, it destroys your utility in the rest of the tree because like this is one.
Yeah,
where- Yeah, so we probably will add these in, but I think it's important to like showcase at the end visually to be like, okay, you're basically choosing these last 3 points to be like throughput and a little defensiveness during Avenging Wrath versus like so much cool shit you want that you currently have. So we'll kind of go back to that later. Obviously, before we go on too, we are going down the middle, but I think the point you spent here, depending on whether you want Mad Paragon or Seal of Order, depends on whether you go After Image or Obduracy. Let's go left
Yeah.
first though. That's fine. So Avenging
it
Wrath,
depends.
spell warding. Which one do you want down here?
I mean, I
Oh,
went with
God.
Seraphim, but I mean, it's just I don't know. I feel like it's
hard to
math.
say. I feel really
It's-
holy power starved at the moment because Avengers Shield doesn't generate holy power anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll definitely
So
talk about that
I
when we actually get
felt
to
like
your
Seraphim was really rough to play because I just felt like I was so starved already.
I think it
Seraphim's
depends on the
definitely
fight.
better
If it's
for damage,
a-
I would say.
If it's a raid fight where you can have good Seraphim usage outside of like actively tanking, I think it's really good. But if you're like actively
Yeah.
tanking the boss all the time, it might be really hard to
Yeah.
get
Well,
good use of
the
Seraphim.
thing is because they want your like uptime on Shield of the Righteous. Like, okay, we should talk. We're going to talk about the Shield of the Righteous thing, especially that they posted today. We'll talk about it when we talk about the Prot Tree when they're not here. So we'll just
Yeah.
grab Seraphim for now. That's fine. And then now you guys have 8 more points before you are done with this tree. We'll leave these for now. So do you want to fuck around with the bottom left side?
I mean, that was
Yeah,
your
I mean,
Scott, right?
yeah, I mean, I didn't mind going down bottom left or bottom right. Like, Mad Paragon's okay because of the judgment damage now, but it's just, like, you don't extend Avenging Wrath by very much with it unless you take the 25% duration one, Sanctified Wrath. So,
Mhm.
like, I could be more inclined to go down that side if I had Sanctified Wrath, I would say.
Okay, so let's talk about
So-
Seraphim for now. If you're going to take one of these, spending Holy Power has a chance to cost your next Word of Glory.
It's definitely the strength one, the opposite side.
Yeah.
You just get, like, a bunch
Really?
of strength.
I feel like I feel like Celerity might be really good since it's starting with Holy Power, but I don't know, I might be wrong.
Yeah, the problem with Seal of Clarity for me is it puts you on odd Holy Power, and if you're playing the Dawn and Dusk thing, like it could put you in a weird scenario where you can't get down to 0 Holy Power, and then it would just be really annoying to play around.
Oh, that's.
But then I'd take that and that probably. I mean, the bottom one's pretty bad as well for Prot. Like it doesn't really do much.
And then here is the big kicker for anyone who's been making these trees on their own. You now have 3 points left at the bottom of the tree. If you get 2 capstones for any Paladin spec, you have 3 points left without getting Seal of Might. And then you just get Seal of Might for throughput for the other 2 specs, or you are choosing. Again, this node is dog shit. It'll probably get changed. Probably like a 1-pointer that gives you 2 seconds or something. If you need freedom on a fight, that's a point. You lose throughput. If you're Golden Path, you lose throughput. Like other classes, even ones with DPS and capstones don't have this decision to make. This should definitely be like a 1-point talent and have it be much stronger, or just kind of rethought of this tree maybe in general for most of the specs. Because this decision just feels bad, right? Like think about the difference between like
it's you don't have enough choices. Like whenever you make something, whenever you go utility, you just lose throughput, and I don't think it's how it should be necessarily. I think you should have like I said with the shaman, like 4 or 5 nodes for throughput, and then depending on what you want to play, you choose what you want to. I want kick for this fight, I want dispel for this fight, I want freedom for this fight, and they can swap. But Pala is just too restricted. So many points that it requires too many 3 points in something. 3 points in that, 2 in that, and it just eats up your points.
Yeah, and then for anyone watching, if you don't go after Image and you want to do this, you could also just go Obduracy, grab whatever of any of this stuff. Seal the Crusader.
You would grab the right one, but
the Consecrate damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab Consecrate damage, grab Seal the Crusader, Mad Paragon, then also go and grab Sanctified Wrath. Like very, very different. How do you think like Paladin damage is going to be this expansion compared to last one? It's something really interesting to talk about. You're losing Ashen, right? Ashen was a huge part of that class's raid viability, not just the damage of it, but the healing was like, I mean, did as much healing as a Holy Paladin Ashen. Like it was insane tank utility. That is most likely gone, almost certainly gone. What does like Prop Paladin do you think they end up looking like in this expansion with what it looks like right now?
I think they're gonna be top still. Like, cause they have like a lot of in the Pro tree. You have a lot of like Avenger Shield, like node, like does 200 increased damage, but only strikes 1 target. And then you have, does more damage to your primary target. So it's more gonna be, you lose the AoE Avenger Shield, but you do more single target damage. That's on the left side of the tree. We'll get there later, I guess, but.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I think that would be the case. But like, with how many raid buffs you looking to bring this expansion versus like last expansion, like the chance you could play Pala with no raid buff, because like, I mean, it's literally only Devo, right? Like, it's gonna be quite a hard sell to get it properly, because you're really gonna want a debuff from a tank most likely.
No, definitely.
You're gonna do way more healing in general, though. Not overall, but like when it's.
Yeah, you definitely get a few you get a few points.
Like,
do you Pallies think
double Wood of Glory? Judgment.
Also, the Golden Path talent that got changed. It also heals allies now, because right now in Shadowlands it just heals yourself. I'm pretty sure the conduit.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I want to point out is like
also
Judgment,
a lot of like synergy too with Prop Alley with Consecration.
It's also insane for rate. Like if you don't take Judgment of Light, like you take this instead. Think about like this going into it with which like this is also like potentially a good node. This is something you'd want for like a potential raid healing tech, but again, you're just sacrificing something you want, right?
They're trying to make the Seal of Mercy, the one under Golden Path, to pretty much be the Venture conduit, though, because it does this exact same.
Yeah.
So they're trying to you can do still a little bit of raid healing. Does Judgment of Light still stack like it did in BFA or Legion? I forgot.
I assume it does.
Should.
The last time we looked into it was when we were trying to play. We were trying to play double Prop Paladin on Jaina before they nerfed the Azerite trait for Prop.
Because like if you actually become just like an off healer as a Paladin, you can go so much on the left side. You can World of Glory one guy, then someone else gets it as well. You can Consecration, automatically heal people a lot. Judgment of Light, you and probably the Holy Power as well. Like,
I feel like that's super overhyped though. Sorry, with like the passive healing. I mean, it's good, but it's not what you need in a.
Yeah,
it's fun like sniping people from like 0 to 100% HP with World of Glory. That's broken. That was like some of the most fun things you could do, like especially on. What was it in Sanctum, like the boss, the Guardian thing, where people like literally drop down?
But like, it's always been broken. It saves so many deaths.
Yeah, but like passive healing, I feel like the healers usually, they don't need more passive healing. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fight dependent. I mean, Judgment of Light's just like if it's a single point in like that talent tree, I think it's pretty good because it's just that's
I agree.
appealing. But like
3 points in Golden Path is a bit too much, I think.
I mean, you just don't have enough. You don't have
It's
enough.
also, it only hits you and up to 5 allies, and like you just think of some bosses as prop belly that you're not going to be stood on 5 allies. So I don't know if that's even worth it. Like I mean, you could probably do it like in the off time, but like it's an interesting one.
I also think that there are a few things on the tree that are cool that multiple specs can bring now, like that. It's just you don't really get the opportunity to really play around with them because you just, and then that's something they can fix. You know, they can condense a few of these points. They can make some of the 3-pointers 2-pointers, and that instantly, like, just imagine if right now they made Seal of Might a 1-pointer, which means it's probably going to guaranteed get it, but that frees up 2 points. Seal of Crusader a 2-pointer, Aspirations of Divinity and Seal Clarity a 2-pointer. Then you instantly have 4 points to do the Golden Path tech to grab Freedom and an extra charge of Divine Steed, right? I don't think it's like this tree is irredeemable. I just think that its pathing could be worked on, and that you kind of just need more points, which means they need to make some more things baseline or lower the point totals to get them.
I don't really understand why you gotta spec twice into Avenging Wrath. I don't really understand.
Yeah, that's really weird. It's like
Only
I know you
there's another talent for it as well.
Say that again?
In the spec tree, there's another talent for Avenging Wrath for Prot and for Ret. You have to spec into it 3 times to get the same effect as in live.
What does the Avenging Might thing even do? I was confused reading it.
It adds the
Maybe
crit.
it just doesn't work.
It adds the crit to it.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have crit
have that
baseline
now,
unless you
right?
fix it. Yeah, it has it now.
Yeah, that seems like a problem. Because like I think their idea with Avenging Wrath Might is the same thing that the Druid tree was going with. In fact, some of these trees were actually made by the same people. So for example, the Shaman tree and the Hunter tree are the same dev. The Rogue tree and the Demon Hunter are the same dev. So maybe it came from the Druid tree, because the Druids have the same thing where they spent a good part of their tree, you know, giving them new bonuses to Berserk that never existed before, some of them, and they combine together, and you can like have a super powerful cooldown, right? So it seems like they had that idea for Paladin with this. It's like it almost looks the same as well, except it's just giving you back what you already had, and it's not a new cool thing, where Sentinel is a new cool thing, right? But you have to choose between that and what you already had. It's very... Oh, never mind. They're all saying those are all new Berserks. Okay, well, same issue in this tree then. Then you have to select multiple things to get the same cooldown you always had. Is strange, right? Yeah, that's definitely how it looks. All right, so that's enough for Prot. It looks like Prot, I think, has like pretty good damage capability, at least just through the class tree. We'll talk about the spec tree a little bit later. I want to talk about what a Ret Paladin general build looks like in raids currently. I'll swap it over to Ret, and then we'll do Holy at the end and just see kind of what's required, what's necessary, and then talk about what choices you guys have.
I'll probably go down the right 2 paths at the end because I think that's most likely. So yeah, you just basically take the first bit similar to Prot. You take the stuff with the crit on the left. So you take Lay on Hands, Devo Aura, Blinding Light, and then the crit chance.
Okay.
Just because you need to take the chance to actually get there.
So,
and obviously you take Wings. Yeah.
And one thing I want to point out before you go on too, same thing with Prot. They both did this exact same thing because of these throughput nodes that are on both sides. It feels bad to have Holy Aegis and Seal of Alacrity here because you feel like you have to go through and get them, and you end up actually spending 9 points in the front part of the tree just on throughput, like basically required stuff, to where, you know, you don't even really have the choice to like spend that extra thing later because now you're not going down the side of the tree, right? So with how much power is at the end, I would like to see that talent looked at, Holy Aegis specifically. Continue on.
So you take Wings and you take both the Judgment talents below it.
Okay.
You take Divine Purpose and you take Bop because you need it to go down. Then you take the Kick and then the Holy Power spinner damage below that, and then the Avoidance and Speed.
Sure.
And I
you
think
have 2 points remaining. Yep.
So this is what you can spend on utility basically in the entire tree. So you can pick like double Steed charges and Sack, which is probably the most, you know, generically useful. If you needed to pick like Freedom or something, you could do that. If you needed to pick Cleanse, you could take Judgment Light and get down to that, but that's pretty much all you could do.
It's pretty much you can pick whatever you want, right? You have 2 talents. You have 2 talents to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's just 2.
Yeah, because the end you're spending entirely on capstones. But I want to I want to pause here before going on and point out something real quick. So before you even talk about capstone stuff, just looking at the front 2 parts of the tree, am I correct in thinking that every single thing you guys have right here you currently have in the game outside of the random bullshit nodes that could easily be baseline?
If you log on Alpha right now, you literally log in with 2 abilities.
Yeah.
Unlike a level 60 character, yeah, like you have nothing.
Everything you have in this tree right now, you have online, except you're missing things. You lose freedom you lose Cleanse Toxins. So far in the tree, which again, we're not going back and spending any more points up here. All of this is going to be on capstones, the rest of the points. You are actually just less than what you are on live. That's ridiculous.
Like you can go sack and then go the damage version of sack, or you can go the 60-second sack. But as someone said earlier, like currently if I'm sacking a tank in the raid, bro, he's getting hit and I'm taking a 40k damage in my face, like during AoE. Like I'm probably dying, yeah? Like there's been so many situations where I'm just bubbling to sack. I don't know how much you would actually pick it. Like that's very situational. Your tank's gonna have to tell you, probably, if they need it or someone else needs it. So
yeah, and if,
I personally I just went Judgment of Light and Double Horse. That's my own decision.
Yeah. That's totally fine.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and then at the bottom, I'm assuming Avenging Wrath. We'll skip the Seal of Might things for now, even though we're almost certainly going back there. Spell warding, just because I think most content you're going to be taking spell warding here.
Just depends on the fight, if it's magical or physical.
Go ahead.
It depends on if you take one of the other talents in the Ret tree that gives you like very high Seraphim uptime. If you are taking that, which I think you probably do, you take Sanctified Wrath at the very bottom.
Sure. And we can change that in a second. On the right side?
None of those talents do any damage, so you can pick any of them. It doesn't matter.
We have no clue. Like that's all scaling.
At least like currently in alpha, they all do.
Touch of Light is bugged. Also, it has no cooldown, no GCD, and you just spam like macro on all your buttons, and it'll do like 20% of your damage overall.
Yeah, I see it's supposed to be a passive, right?
I think it's just like
I don't know why it
chance on
put
your
an ability on my bar.
Yeah,
It put some ability on my bar, and I had no idea what.
Yeah, no. What he's saying is it's supposed to be passive, but Driney said he macroed it into all of his abilities, and it's doing 20% of his damage.
I'll show you a log of it if you care to look at it.
I would assume that the Touch of Light is just gonna be better. Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like once you actually get to see the Ret tree, you're kind of perma pressing stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Seal and then Seal the Crusader and is that currently in the game? Seal the Crusader?
Yeah,
no.
It was working for me.
I thought you mean like on live.
Yeah, on live.
No.
So this is like, I wonder what the 3 procs per minute, 15% increased holy damage. Do you feel like you're going to be able to play around that pretty well? Like, are you going to be like you're never going to like holding GCDs or pooling? Is this just like a passive damage increase?
Yeah, just passive.
You're going to see it once you actually go in the Ret tree, because you're going to see you have Divine Toll and stuff. And you're gonna once you see the basically we're going back to the 1 minute build, right, that we had in the last year. So there's gonna be times probably where you might hold it. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, and then the last point goes Mad Paragon, and then now you guys have 3 points in the rest of the tree, and just the same as Prot. You guys are deliberating between Seal of Might or other things, but you're really not deliberating. You're just taking Seal of Might. So
yeah.
But then look at right next to Seal of Might, yeah. Bro, we're missing Unbreakable Spirit, man. Like, hello? I love that spell. Oh, passive thing.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Yeah. So Ret Paladin just looks like the same it is on live, except through the class tree alone. We'll talk about the spec tree when we get there. I actually think the spec tree actually has a lot of interesting stuff in it. The class tree alone, I just feel like for Paladin is deeply problematic.
How I look at it is, the bottom part is very good. You have a lot of choice there, kind of like left and right side, but the top part is what locks you all in. All the first 8 points are all awful. I hate every single point that I have to put. Every single one I hate.
Yep.
I don't
the
like
throughput is just so many points to actually get to all the throughput. It's once you take all the throughput, you just get so little left over.
Instead of 8 points, it should have been 4 points, and then it would have been fine.
The abilities that you take to get to the throughput are also like some of them are okay. Like Kick, you're pretty happy to take that, but like Blinding Light and like Fist of Justice in a raid environment, just like basically useless.
But like think about this, there's no like the right side that's locked in, yeah. So if your tank tells you to go sack and needs it every minute, bro, you just lost your passive healing and your double horse, yeah. If your tank says I need sack, but there's a slow in the boss fight, so you need freedom as well. Like, then he's not going to get his 1 minute sack, and you're locked into.
You can drop freedom. Lay on Hands, but that's about it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to drop Lay on Hands probably, yeah. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would much rather see a lot of these throughput nodes condensed into each other, and then allow the capstones of this tree. It's so hard to talk about like a total redesign, but these things already exist for other classes. Have the capstones just like on Druid and Shaman and other classes be. You have to commit down here to get spell warding, right? And that's the choice you're making at the end of your tree. After you have all your throughput is like, wait, do I want spell warding or do I want bop or do I want like the 1 minute sack or something? And you can get 2 out of the 3 and it depends on the fight and you actually are making choices, right? Like I just really feel like after looking at all these that every single class tree that has throughput as the functional capstones of the build, it just feels so much worse than the utility ones.
What I was hoping for the class tree to be was pretty much how the mage one is. I know it's bad, but that is so much cool offensive, not defensive stuff. Sorry, but
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so much defensive stuff. Like blink, when you blink, you get a shield. Your shields are bigger. You heal all the time. Like there's so much cool shit they have, and we have like nothing. And the one thing I wanted for Ret was the offensive, and like be able to move around. I didn't care about damage. Like we're always gonna be fine. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, cool. So that's Ret. Also, that's hilarious. We're gonna talk about the mage tree tomorrow, but the mage tree is fucking cooked for totally different reasons. But yeah, I do understand what you mean with like all the like look just. But the thing is though, is that's not because they're giving them anything. It's just because they naturally have that many more buttons and stuff like that are just normal. It's just like kind of the fundamental issue. All right, Holy Paladins, this is your one job today. Tell me what Holy Paladins are kind of decisions you guys are making. We'll do it from the prot one. And we're going to do it from the prot one and assume you also start on land hands.
Myth has a build that he'll go through and I'll kind of comment as he goes.
Sure.
I think I just want to start by saying that if you're going like a Mythic Plus focus, you're kind of just going like the same way Ret did, kind of just down the right side of the tree and making a lot of those like same decisions. But for raiding, you're kind of just forced into the left side. So you would take like Hammer of Wrath, you would take Divine Steed, you would get all of the movement stuff, I think, just to make you a little bit more mobile. And then
really?
like,
In raid? So in raid, you're totally ignoring the haste node because it's like a 3-point. If you're a Holy Paladin in the raid, you're playing Diva Aura. Like, straight up.
100%. So you're investing, it costs so much to get the haste node, and you're losing a lot of utility, which I think is kind of like one of the big strong suits of Paladin that I don't really like putting points into Retribution Aura and then Fist of Justice just to get a little bit of haste.
Okay.
I still think you definitely take Hammer of Wrath, and there's still scenarios where you can switch to like Red Aura if someone like if there's if there's 2 Paladins in the raid. I mean, one of them just stays Devo, and the other one can like swap to Red Aura to get the Seraphim free buff or whatever. You can do like cheesy stuff like that, swapping auras back and forth. But I'm not a huge fan of that, playstyle. But yeah, hopefully that horse talent gets changed to like less points or something.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say what I'm gonna do for now, just for the sake of argument, since no other spec put any points in here, I'm going to assume that this is going to turn into, at minimum, a 1-point talent that gives you 2 seconds under your Divine Steed. So I'm just going to put 1 for there and just pretend that change is already in, because I think the second worst talent point I've seen on any tree, and the only one that was worse was survival, and it was changed. So I'm just going to put 1 point there. Moving on, we have 1 more point to go forward. Is that Red Aura or Freedom based on the fight?
Yeah, probably just situational.
Let's just grab Red Aura for now. That's fine. All right, continue down the left then.
So I mean, I think the middle of the tree is like fantastic. Just going down straight into Judgment. Holy was the only spec that didn't get Holy Power from Judgment, so that's like an insane buff to like our class, especially when you consider it's competing with like Crusader Strike for a GCD, and it's a 1/4 of the mana cost. So that ability is just like insane now, especially when you get Judgment of Light on the left side of the tree. It just makes Judgment like an absurd ability.
And I'm assuming you're grabbing Bop to go down to the middle path, right? You guys go middle as well?
Yeah. You would also get Judgment, the other Judgment talent, and then Divine Purpose.
Sure.
Then I like to go back left and just get like Sack and get your Cleanse Toxins, which some of it you would kind of spec into and spec out.
What are you grabbing, Golden Path or Judgment of Light?
You're grabbing both.
Both. I feel like these 2 1-point talents, they're going to do like, I don't even know, like I'm just going to make up a number, like anywhere from like 10 to like 15, 20% of your healing on like a raid boss. I feel like it's just free passive healing.
Especially with how good Judgment is now.
Yeah, it's super weird. Okay.
Not a huge fan of that, but yeah.
So then it kind of depends on what you want for the fight. Yeah, so like I think you go after image a lot of the time just because you want to go back down to the left. You could get like Recompose or Recompense if you need it, or you could just put more points.
So it's the exact same as Ret and Prot, where you have 2 points now you can spend at the top of the tree, correct? As
exactly.
As something and everything else. So it's the exact same argument, except he already grabbed a second horse, so you're picking between Freedom, Seal of Mercy, Speed and Avoidance, probably not, and then like looks like you're especially as a Holy Paladin, I imagine you're grabbing 1-minute sack most of the time.
Yeah, especially just because, I mean, you don't even need to use it on a tank in a lot of situations. It's valuable just on like a random DPS member.
Oh, yeah.
Also, real quick, the Divine Purpose choice node, like, do any other specs even consider taking the other one? The, what even is it called?
Holy Avenger?
Like, that it feels like it's just garbage. I don't know why that's an option. I feel like it's never going to be picked the entire expansion. Maybe Mythic Plus or
it would
PvP,
need
but
its
I don't know.
cooldown reduced to line up with Wings, I think. and just be buffed because Divine Purpose is just mathematically a lot more generation, right? So
it's maybe on a
3 minutes.
specific boss. If there was a boss that had like a huge damage amp, like maybe you'd take it on that. But
The problem is a 3-minute cooldown more than anything else.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that.
So we're gonna just grab, just for the sake of argument, Freedom to move to the bottom of the tree. Which one are you going through on the bottom left here?
On the bottom left, I have Seal of Clarity just because I'm worried about having enough like GCDs to actually press Crusader Strike. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you do have enough GCDs, but I think Seal of Clarity is like fine for now. And if Aspirations is good, you can just spec into that. Then you get Dusk of Dawn, and like you're kind of forced into Dusk of Dawn because the right side of the tree is really, really bad. But Dusk of Dawn is like horrible. It's like a decent legendary. It's never one of the top tier ones, but it also just feels horrible to play. And I feel like it's kind of promotes bad gameplay in a sense because you have to get to 5 Holy Power, right? So you're sitting 3-4 Holy Power and your party members, your raid members are dying, but you can't do that or you lose a lot of like your throughput, right? So you're kind of forced into going to that 5 Holy Power.
Yeah. Okay, so you're grabbing Seal of Order as well?
Yeah. And then, I mean, getting Blessing of Spell Warding is just insane, I think, especially because you can just take Unbreakable Spirit in situations where you don't need it, right? So you can just...
You could also potentially take both, right? Like, so if you're going... Are you going Sanctified Wrath or Seraphim?
Sanctified Wrath, for sure.
Okay, so now you're sitting here with 3 points again. For example, it could be very much... Even if you're... I'm guessing you're a Seal of Might gamer.
Yeah.
I could see us not taking it if they don't bring back Awakening. I also hate it's like another RNG or slot machine talent where every time you press your 3 Holy Power button, you get a... What is it, like a 10% chance or 15% chance to proc wings? And if that's on the Holy Tree, then I could see us not taking that 3-point node.
Or even if you don't take the 3-point node, you can just go 2 points into it, and because of the certain way a fight works, just send that single point into Unbreakable. Or
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, just do that. Like that seems like probably how you do it. Okay, so this is, again, kind of similar issues, although I do think Holy Paladin... Like, I really doubt you'd ever bring a Rep Paladin because of spell warding, because, like, DPS slots are much more hard to come by. But, like, I feel like Paladin right now doesn't do a ton of healing on Warcraft logs, but if a new raid came out right now, you'd probably still see a Paladin in every fight because of the way that they heal differently from other healers and kind of fill in gaps. They're insane, right?
Yeah.
This is just adding tools to their toolbox. Holy Paladin from last expansion, no Ashen, has the opportunity where we assume to have Divine Toll, which plays really well with Holy, plus you also get spell warding and 1 minute sack. It's just going to make you a raid utility machine from a healer position if your throughput's decent.
Also, I guess we have to wait to see what the Holy Tree looks like, but since they nerfed our wings because of our tier going into this last patch, I'm kind of hoping they kind of revert back to rank 3 wings, which is 30% damage and healing, because right now it's 20% and it feels terrible going into Dragonflight if we don't have like a talent or something to increase the healing with wings.
Definitely something to talk about next week when we actually talk about the Holy Paladin Spec Tree, assuming it comes out next week. Is Holy Paladin one of the class that needs to be looked at for baseline buffs or interaction buffs with their abilities because they were nerfed over the expansion because of a Covenant ability that no longer exists?
I think so. I mean, if you just take a quick peek at the logs, it's pretty sad sight to see how far behind Pallies are healing-wise.
Yep. So I think that's definitely something to talk about after this. Okay, so that is I think everything from the general tree. Overall, I think way less choice than even other trees that are similar to it. Like if you're making decisions on like a DK, for example, you still have like a couple of points to slam into Wraithwalk for a fight, to slam into like a stun. You have more choice than you do with Paladins. So definitely need to see this changed a little bit. I would say if you guys were going to bring up issues with the tree in general and stuff to fix, what do you guys think would be like a top 3 thing to look at to have things be changed? And one thing I did want to point out before you bring that up is with Holy Avenger. We'll talk about this in the proc conversation in a second, but they're talking about making Shield of the Righteous just a much stronger buff, but give you less uptime. That's part of the reason for reducing your Holy Power, which could make something like Holy Avenger an actually really strong tank cooldown to give you on demand really much stronger active mitigation in a time when you like super need it, where Divine Purpose as a tank is obviously like really random. So I think that's something where tanks, it probably has more validity than other classes, and it's purely thinking defensively. But it should be something to look at. But what are the top 3 things you guys think on this tree should be looked at or changed?
The placement of the throughput nodes, if they were just not behind as many points to get to them, like it'd just clear up so much room to spend talent points and other stuff.
Just buffing base Divine Steed rather than having points around Divine Steed would be better as well. Like the 2 charges one's fine, but like that horse one, that shouldn't even change to 2 seconds. That should just be 2 seconds added onto the baseline horse.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Paladins are I think they're the slowest class in the game. But I think the only class that's remotely close is Death Knight, and
I mean, not even DK anymore.
Yeah, I mean DK, especially DK has potentially 2 charges of Death's Advance, right? Like that's like
like
that
when I see
clears
Death's
Paladin.
Advance and I put a point in it, I don't feel bad because Death's Advance is a complete ability. But when you see Horse, you think, oh, I have to put 5 points into this because it's not a complete cooldown. I need 5 points to make it one, and that's like the problem I have with Horse.
As a ret, just in general, not always having freedom baseline is hyper weird, in my opinion.
Yep. Hard.
I don't understand. Even low enhance, like whatever, sure. I don't mind. It's one, but freedom is just I don't understand.
Yep.
I'd like to see them add like another at the bottom of the tree, like another option of nodes between Sanctified Wrath and the Dusk of Dawn, like in between, at least for Holy, like another option of talents to pick. And then I'd also like them to probably reconsider Dusk of Dawn and probably Mad Paragon. I don't think Mad Paragon's that great.
What I don't really understand is why we have to pick these abilities. Why do I have to pick Sack? Why do I have to pick Pop? I thought it was going to be like how PvP is now, that you can in PvP you can spec into freedom being 30% faster and you can give it to someone else. I thought that was going to be a talent in the talent tree now, instead of just picking freedom randomly, you know. But it does increase it as well, but still, like I don't know. I thought it was going to be like a middle talent instead of just picking it regular, you know.
It's just dependent on who's actually making the trees, because like you're saying, there are classes that exist right now. Shaman is certainly the best example of this, where what you're saying is true. They do still want you to have to pick between it. Like here's the idea for why you have to pick freedom: is there are fights where you don't pick freedom, and on fights where freedom is irrelevant, you can choose to spec into something else that could help you for that specific situation. That's the whole idea of the talent trees, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's just that Paladin has to make too many decisions to grab things that are most likely useful on most encounters or things you do, and they're not really picking between any new cool stuff or anything. They're just having to it's like the melee on Halandris meme. Like they're like sweating trying to get everything they possibly need, while other classes are just like beach vacation ranged on Halandris, just like everything they want. And they're like, okay, how do I want to spend these 8 points for pure utility after I already have everything I need? Right? It's just a different world. And I think they need to. The Shaman tree is the best example of this. The other trees need to be more like this, because this class is an absolute blast to play around and think about. They have more choices than other classes, and that's just because they have more baseline things that are there. And this should be the standard. This class has multiple builds it can play that it's never been able to play before, new combos, and everything they've had before. Other classes are not like that. They should all be like that. Anyways, we're going to start with the proc conversation. So if you guys want to stick around for that, that's totally fine. If not, you can drop the call and I'll just add you later when it's done. It usually takes about 30 minutes per tree, per spec. And then we'll go prot, ret, and then holy, because now is a normie and needs to go to bed. So we will do prot now. All right, so I'm interested to see near the end of this tree and talk about like potential different power levels by the like compared to now. Like that's going to be the question I want to answer now that we've looked at the class tree and we've looked at the spec tree. Like what does prot paladin with these talents as it stands right now look like compared to its power level relative to other tanks in Shadowlands? At the end of this tree, we'll answer that once we actually go through and actually test it. Now, I do understand as well, like Blessed Hammer and a lot of other abilities currently aren't working. This is going to go purely off of tooltips, their speculation, what they've posted, and how it's supposed to work, and talking about what you would take in a raiding environment, and then we'll swap it over to Mythic Plus right after. But one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about first is Blizzard posted earlier about prot paladins, and they clarified a few things. They mentioned the steed, the rank 2 talent thing was messed up. Same thing with the silence, like Avenger Shield should silence. That'll be fixed in the next build. But the stuff that I think is interesting, and I want to hear about your all's opinion on it, because I was thinking a lot about it earlier. I actually even had the take that the Blizzard developer said before this. And I think if done correctly, reading this, having Shield of the Righteous not just permanently up can allow it to be a much more impactful, strong thing you press, right? Versus something that's just up all the time, if you actually do shift the power into other things as well to make up for that. Like an example would be, you know, technically DK's active mitigation is Bone Shield, but really it isn't. Bone Shield is something very easy to keep up that you do, and really all DK is just playing greedy and having good heals when you're low, at least outside of the tier bonus right now. Like that's what actually active mitigation is for DK. Same thing for Monk, right? Technically their active mitigation is Shuffle, but Shuffle's irrelevant. It should be baseline, right? Like what's really good about Monk is the purifying and the shielding, right? Like that's what makes Monks powerful. With Paladins, as opposed to shield block for Warrior, which it looks like they want it to be closer to the power level of shield block, but having less uptime than 100%. How do you guys feel about Paladins sorry, someone just tier 3 subbed and it's so loud. How do you guys feel about Paladins not having 100% uptime and your holy power generation being much less than it is right now? Because it seems like that's intended.
I mean, I don't like it at all. I mean, I don't think the skill of prop paladin's ever been about managing cooldowns as much as healing people, like actually using Word of Glory, like a lot. And like this kind of just limits how much you can Word of Glory, because like if you can barely even keep Shield of the Righteous up, like how are you gonna find extra holy power to actually heal like your allies in the room? Like it's just like it feels pretty bad. Like, and it doesn't improve like the class. It doesn't add skill to the class. I think if anything, it removes it. I think it just makes you play around yourself more, which I don't think Paladin's ever been about.
I also think that in general, like generating holy power, there's something to be said about generating a lot of resources being really fun.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you literally press Avenger's Shield and like nothing happens. No, it's very weird. Like you get a shield. I mean, it's one of those like, you know, Mickey Mouse absorb type shields. Like it's not impactful. Like if I'm about to take a jailer melee, I'm not gonna like hold Avenger's Shield to get the shield for that melee because it's not gonna do anything. Like it's not gonna stop me dying. So I don't like the change. I don't think it's a good change.
What do you think now? Oh, I think the boy sleeping? Okay, well, he's definitely sleeping, I guess. But he'll come.
He just wrote in the chat. He said no.
He said no.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, I was trying to speak so long, but my mic didn't work.
All right, so what do you think about the Avenger Shield Holy Power thing? Because this is something they're going to want to like feedback on like pretty early. Because I really doubt like they're going to solidify whether they want to do that in the next couple weeks probably.
Yeah, so like in my opinion, like it's really weird because I don't know how much you play Prospect like in a plus and stuff, for example. But Avenger Shield is never like your main spender on when you're raiding. Like single target, Avenger Shield is like the last one like button you press for Holy Power. It's always like, you know, Judgment is a prior and then Hammer is Righteous and then like Avenger Shield. Yeah, sure, it's nice to press, but like it's not your main thing. That generates your Holy Power anyway. So like them removing Holy Power from it doesn't really impact raiding that much, but it's like a big deal in the plus. And it's just really weird because in the plus you definitely want to Avenger Shield, but then you have to make the choice. I don't know. I feel like it's impacting a plus a lot more than it's raiding because you have like different builds between the two.
Yeah, they did mention that for Divine Toll, they think that Divine Toll should generate like it has previously with Avenger Shield. So they might make Divine Toll itself give you Holy Power, but not necessarily Avenger Shield baseline. But it is something to think about because like they've done a really good job in this game of making every tank different. The reason why I want you guys to be on to talk tanks is I know all of you, or you two, play all of them at a very high level in all forms of content. Their mitigation is totally different. Monk is totally different than the way that DK mitigates, and Paladin currently is much different than the way Warrior mitigates, even though they both have the skill to block something. And Guardian Druid is totally different. I guess a little bit closer, just in the fact that you spam Iron Fur. But my issue is if you make Shield of the Righteous instead of 100% uptime, 60 to 70% uptime, and you make it obviously much more powerful to account for that, or shift the power into another part of your class, aren't you just a shield blocking warrior at that point? And instead of ignore painting, you're just wogging? Isn't it's like it's basically taking a class that currently plays a bit different than warrior and kind of giving them the same defensive like toolkit in a way as warrior does. And that's the thing that is strange to me. If they were to change that,
I just feel like with Vogue being like built into your Soter usage, and that's why haste is so good as well, because the more Soters or Shield of Righteous you press, the more free Word of Glory you get that can either heal yourself or heal the raid. And it's still like when you play Shadowlands now, if you choose like Word of Glory back to back or something, you will drop your Shield of Righteous in a lot. Maybe not now when you have we're in the last patch of the expansion, right? Now you have too much haste almost, but in Sanctum and stuff, I remember if you actually had to heal yourself, your holy power outside of the free ones, you would still drop your shield.
You probably die. That feeling of choosing to spend the holy power on Wog and then realizing like 0.5 seconds later that's a really bad idea and like you're tanking the boss, like that everyone knows that feeling if you've played a paladin like that. You are very likely to be dead if you don't have.
It definitely happened a lot on pull on Sylvanas. There'd be a lot of times where you just cheated on pull because you did that. You took that option and then you just cheat on pull and it felt like fucking really bad.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, what you were saying about Avengers Shield, like in Raid, I mean, it is the last thing you want to press, which is why like now it feels so bad to press in raid. Like you literally didn't want to press it anyways, but now it doesn't even give you a holy power, so it just feels like really bad to press.
But that's also like why I don't agree with like Avengers Shield. If they want to make it so that Soda should be more powerful, this is not the direction to go, because Avengers Shield, it needs to be something more like generic for like, because it's not going to impact rating almost at all, because if you play Double Judgment and you play Blessed Hammer, which you most likely will, you're going to have so many holy power generators that Avengers Shield is going to, you won't even, you won't use it on cooldown unless you go on Avengers Shield build for either like damage or like absorb. But
I saw they put some more of that absorb tech in the tree, but it's like I don't think people are really going to be wanting to press that, right? Like that's that's the other issue with Protpala, but you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, the Absorb, like, it sounds good, but even if you go into all the damage of Shield of the Righteous, you're getting, like, a 3k Absorb when you have, like, 46k health, right? Which, like, it doesn't feel good. Like, it just feels like you're investing a lot of points for not very much, like, return in terms of defensiveness, which, I mean, Protpala's always lacked that.
Yeah, and also, like, the left part of the tree is, like, damage and Avenger Shield, like, oriented, and the right side is just, like, very defensive-oriented. And I don't see a world where you don't, if you do any challenging content, you don't go down the right side. Like, you don't want to play Divine Toll right now, but the nodes above Divine Toll, like, all of those are so extremely powerful when it comes to, just surviving. Especially, like, if you look in the Consecration one, that's above to the left.
Yeah,
and then
2.5% DR just all times.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Avenger Shield is talking, you don't want Avenger Shield all the time, but it's still, if you have this conduit or talent, 20% block whenever you Avenger Shield is also, like, super powerful. And then you kind of go the left side of the tree, which is, where Avenger Shield is kind of.
Does that pandemic or stack, by the way? If you press Divine Toll, do you get 20 seconds of this block?
I actually haven't tried it because we don't have, we have level 60 talent. So,
yeah. Okay, here's what I want to do, just because I know Naowh has probably Mythic Plus on Paladin more than Scott. Scott, if you want to take me down your raid build, and you can kind of both talk about it at the same time at a level 70, and then we will alter it for Mythic Plus after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because of tuning, but I'd definitely go... So you have to take the first point in Avenger's Shield, then I'd go Blessed Hammer, just because I don't really see the upside of Hammer of the Righteous. Like, it feels like Blessed Hammer's always better. But right now, Blessed Hammer, it's not just bugged. Like, I know we don't want to talk about bugs because they'll be fixed, but you can't use it out of melee range, which I'm not sure if that's a bug. I assume it is. But if that is the case, Blessed Hammer's just down there with Hammer of the Righteous, so I don't...
Yeah, I never understood this, because Blessed Hammer is just a better Hammer of the Righteous, so what is the point? Did they buff Hammer of the Righteous in some way?
It just does something in Consecration, right? Like, it does a tiny bit more on single target or something.
Okay.
But it's very weird, but if you can use Blessed Hammer out of melee, then it's way better.
Okay.
As long as Shield of the Righteous, you can cast a lot, you'll always go like the Redoubt, I think. It's just 6% stamina and strength, like flat buff, which is like very strong.
Sure.
And then Holy Shields...
Before we like move on, if they actually want you to stop like Shield of the Righteous less, if they actually would make it so you can't keep this up, this would be a really bad talent. But since it's lasting 10 seconds, the other talent is also bad, like Inner Light.
Dude, Inner Light is so that's so bad. Dude, imagine waiting to Shield of the Righteous again so your shit expires to do damage. Like, that's insane.
You do 123 damage to Sylvanas and she one-shots you in return. But yeah, definitely go with that, because I mean, they buffed it, right? I think it's 6 seconds on live, but now it's 10 seconds, so like they're literally contradicting themselves. Like, they don't want you to have Shield of the Righteous up enough, but like then they're also accounting for that in like giving you like more time for this buff, which just makes the talent even stronger. But then I'd go all 3 of the next ones I think are really solid. Shining Light, Grand Crusader, and Holy Shield are all really good.
Okay, and then you have 2 more points before you move on down in the tree.
And then I'd go Ardent Defender, definitely. And then I'd also go 1 in Inspiring Vanguard. And then I'd also go on the other side of Ardent Defender. I think all of those are just really strong. Like, Judgment 2 charges, like that, you need that on Paladin, because you're just constantly gaining judgments all the time between UCDs where you'd be sitting on it.
Okay, and then
that's like a really solid opener.
Now, are you grabbing Consecrated Ground or Consecration and Flame just for pathing, or are you just pathing down from Ardent Defender? Basically, the question is, do you take Uther's Guard or Bastion?
Uther's Guard's interesting. You can actually get, like, I think it's around the 2-minute 48 bubble and 2-minute 24 spell bop, which...
Oh, wow.
Like, which is actually, like, pretty low CDs on those. Like, bubble, you can reduce further again, by spending Holy Power later on. So like if there's a fight where you need constant like immunities, that could be interesting. But like you don't want to go down that side unless specifically for that reason.
Okay.
So like I'd just continue down the middle.
Sure.
I'd take 2 in Bulwark and 2 in Light of the Titans because you don't really get away with not doing it.
Sure.
I'd take the Avenging Right Might.
Now I do want to
Avenging
talk
Right
about
Might,
Sentinel
yeah.
before we move on. So this is the new thing added, and I think the idea is it's turning your Avenging Wrath into a defensive cooldown, right?
Yeah.
I think Sentinel is the most broken shit I've ever seen. I would
Yeah.
never swap away from it. Like
It
this is
seems
the
so
go-to
insane.
every time.
And then wouldn't you play
I
like
think
Sanctified Wrath
it
and
is
like
good,
extend
but
it?
like you're losing 20% crit rate for it, and it's
Yeah,
not
but
really much
20%.
damage.
I mean, it's not giving you a lot of damage, but
It's 30%
I mean,
DR and max health
Yeah.
for the
And,
duration
yeah,
of your
the-
Avenging Wrath, right?
Yeah, the problem I have with it is just like Prot Pally's always been brought to do damage. Like, there's never been a time where you've gone like, oh, we need, the tanky tank. Let's bring
This is a
Prot
good take.
Paladin, right? Which is why I don't know why you take Sentinel, because if you're in the raid, like you're probably there to do damage, and I just feel like losing 20% crit is just going against why you're in the raid as a Paladin.
Okay, I will.
Although
no-
it is a strong talent, 100%.
Yeah, no,
like an
I
M+,
definitely-
like, very
I
good.
definitely want to note this because we talk about this in a lot of our talks. We're like, obviously, we're talking about very high level play, but for a lot of people who play and just like tank for their like regular ass guild, right? Just tanking on a Thursday, with your guild, you don't like really care about playing competitively. Nothing wrong with that. Like something like this could be like really, really good when what's stopping you from killing a fight is not damage, it's staying alive. This could be extremely powerful. But like, right, like I think that this is a choice node is actually a really cool thing. I really like this choice node as opposed to some other stuff not being very good. I think the fact that you can choose between doing damage or being I actually think this is gonna get nerfed. Like that actually looks fucking
yeah, I
insane.
agree.
Yeah, it's
Like-
very good.
Yeah,
I mean,
extremely
it's
good.
very good. It just goes against Prot Paladin, like being in the raid type of thing. That's how I saw
I
it.
kind of
which-
disagree with that though. I feel like that was in the past, but like especially like later into Shadowlands, prot pillars were like super tanky, like super like
They were tanky, but you still wanted them for damage, right? Like at the end of the day, like I don't think
I
the
would
healing
like-
was good as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't need a raid buff, which you most likely will, I mean, going into Dragonflight, I think like bringing a prot pala, let's say you do like 1k less DPS and another tank, but you have Word of Glory on your raid all the time. I would way rather have a prot pala.
Dude,
that's gonna save some
you
of
are
the
doing
CRs.
if you're doing 1k less DPS than another tank class and you bring this version of Sentinel and you have off healing, that's definitely really powerful. I think
Yeah,
the idea
yeah.
is that you'd be losing a lot of damage by not having Avenger. But also we
Yeah.
talked about this earlier where why is this even a choice node? Like this is just what you already have, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah,
why
yeah,
they're making
I
you
don't
choose
understand either.
what you already have. Yeah, I would rather just see Sentinel be something they build prop pally around because this sounds actually really fucking fun to play too. I just don't know. I think Avenging Wrath Might should just be part of Avenging Wrath. And if you're gonna do anything, you know how in the class tree you have Avenging Wrath rank 2 reduces cooldown? What the fuck is that? Just make Wings a 2-minute cooldown and then have the choice node in the class tree be Avenging Wrath Might. And then
Yeah.
you can have Sentinel be here. But we'll
Yeah,
just
I mean,
keep
I think
Sen-
Sentinel's a good talent to like put in, but yeah, I mean, it depends how stuff maps out. I mean, I'm just thinking from like a angle of like you bring in the tank for a raid buff, or because they do something incredible, and like I don't think Prot Paladin's gonna quite do that if you go down that route, just because I don't think the damage is gonna be high enough if you go away from like 20% crit, because there's just so much damage like to have.
Also, this is we're not talking about Mythic Plus yet, but I think Sentinel might be one of, if not the very strongest like cooldown you could have in Mythic Plus, like to do a big pull.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I mean, you're
Yeah.
you're popping your like offensive cooldown, and at the same time you are actually unkillable. Like that's fucking nuts. So
I mean, it's like Incarn, you just get a huge health bonus. Like,
yeah, like Bear
it's so
Thrash might be
strong.
better. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's
That's
way
something
out there.
I like with prot pala for Dragonflight, like they went from like being known for being, not, I don't think squishy is the right word. I never felt like Palace was squishy. They were like, without like enough haste, they were like, they didn't feel good to play. But I don't think they were squishy.
Yeah.
But anyways, like they went from struggling to, survive sometimes to being like with Sentinel and the Truth, whatever it's called, in the middle all the way down. They became like really, really tanky. I have theory, yeah. So we're going to get to that in a bit, I guess. But that's what I really like, that I think they're going to be very tanky in Dragonflight.
Yeah, this
they're
is-
getting so many extra cooldowns.
I mean, the
It's
fact,
crazy.
yeah, for sure. Also, I think something that's worth thinking about is like Consecrated Ground doesn't seem like a good point, but I absolutely think that like Bastion of Light is something you never took because it was on a bad talent row, right? But I think if it's like technically a 1-point option potentially a 2 if you don't want Consecrated Ground. If they're reducing your Shield of Righteous uptime by reducing your generation, this could be really nice in a pinch defensively for tanking as well. Even though we skipped over it, I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it differently. Like, you can actually look at it as like a healing thing where you just, like, instead of using your Holy Power on free Shield to the Righteous, you can use that on Wordable. Oh, actually, no, it does both. Never mind.
It does both, yeah.
Same as the old one.
Yeah, so you just play normally. Shield. It would just like you could
yeah.
It could even be like an oh shit cooldown. Like when you have that feeling of like you'd probably use it honestly. I'm pretty sure you're just gonna slam this with wings to do damage. To be honest with you, but like you could do other shit either way. All right, let's move on from this. So let's just say taking Sentinel for now because they're gonna add Avenging Wrath Might correctly to the class tree or baseline.
You definitely want Hand of the Protector always. Like it's just such a that's just the reason you'd bring Paladin effectively.
Yeah.
I think Resolute Defender's always been decent, although it's all nerfed. That's that one, yeah. It used to extend Ardent Defender as well, so I'm not like completely sold on that anymore.
It depends if you need more defensive cooldowns.
Yeah.
It depends on the fight.
I think you'd probably go on the right side instead, and you take like.
Okay, we need
you'd probably take that.
Okay, yeah.
Because you need to get down the middle tree, and like right now, I don't think the other one's strong enough. You take Relentless Inquisitor as well, which is the 1 point on there. It's just a bunch of haste. You always want haste.
Okay.
How I've gone down is I've gone Guardian of the Ancient Kings, which you've taken, and then I've gone down the right because I think the defensiveness of that side is so strong that I've taken. Yeah, like I've taken 2 points in Sanctuary, and then I've gone back to the middle. I've taken the Faith's Armor, which I don't know why that's even a point, but it's. Like, see that far down the tree is...
so
hold up. Before moving on, like, that is absolutely absurd. Every
like
I didn't take that. I was forced to take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the stuff you're forced to take here as well.
I didn't even read that before. Dude, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That is so bad. Is it missing?
Like, DK has a similar one, but it's like way up the tree. Like, it's not like this...
Like, look at what it's competing with. Like... I guess it's competing with something that gives you 0% block chance, but yeah, like I'm sure that'll get fixed. But like the 2%, even if it's missing a number, it's still boring. Like it's it's
I mean, it shouldn't be there.
Armor's really bad. Like it just does huge diminishing returns.
Okay.
It shouldn't be there.
So we have to select.
And then I go down the right side on here.
Okay, Righteous
Protector. It's bugged at the moment. I don't know what it actually does because in game it's 1,000 seconds, which I'm assuming.
It makes you pumped, bro. That's perma waste.
Yeah, I mean, I'm macroing wings and wall and everything.
The Avenger Shield, you're a king.
I mean, you're definitely. I mean, if you're ever taking Sentinel, you're just taking every single Avenging Wrath talent that exists, right?
Yeah.
So okay.
I have Tears very strong. It's just
I have Tears fucking nuts.
Does a good amount of damage as well.
Good.
Like it's just like a nice global to press.
Giving any tank a 1 minute 25% damage reduction just in general with no other part of the ability mattering, that is like that could swing the power level of tanks. Like those are not like easy to come by. They're very, very good. So it gives you so much coverage.
Next part, I mean, this is where prop play is like a little interesting, as you can choose to go all the way down either of the paths, but like they don't seem like particularly strong just because Avenger Shield doesn't generate holy power. So like you could choose to get Divine Toll, which is on the right, but I don't actually like Divine Toll very much because it doesn't actually do very much for you.
Which they did say they were changing though. They did say that they want Divine Toll.
Holy power, it would be nice.
Yeah, Divine Toll. They want to generate resources. So that's just consider when you press Divine Toll, you get full holy power.
Yeah, I mean, how many points do you have left at this point?
At this point, with Divine Toll selected and going down the middle, you have 2 total points remaining.
Yeah, so I'd probably just put it in the Divine Toll. Just casts an extra thing every 15 seconds.
Assuming that it does generate that
damage, and then I'd probably put 1 point in the right one there.
This one?
Like that. I don't mind the left side either. Like going down the left side's like feels pretty good as well because you get. It's mainly the other talent option in that row where you get 200% more damage on Avenger Shield on single target, which
I would definitely
is 2 above that.
I would definitely get.
I think that's pretty strong.
What would you say?
Yeah, Bubble Taunt. Oh yeah, Bubble Taunt over the 1 out of 2 actually.
Yeah. Like Bubble Taunt is extremely powerful. It makes you like a
It kind of puts on
best defensive cooldown in the game. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. Even though there are a lot of fights where what you are actually bubbling is not something that is the entire duration, where you can just bubble and then taunt it alone, but there are just as many, if not more, fights where being able to do it for the whole duration is turbo broken. So
yeah. I mean, I think this is like a pretty solid option for Pala. I think it's just Divine Toll feels so bad right now, and even with Holy Power, I don't think it'll feel particularly good either.
Let's just talk about the left side of this tree. So it seems like the left side is just total Avenger Shield tech. Avenger Shield with Holy Fire does AoE around the target, deals 15% increased damage to primary, single target Avenger Shield, and then also AoE choice node. It's a damage reduction by hitting things with Avenger Shield, followed with 2 Avenger Shield nodes. But they made Avenger Shield not generate Holy Power, so a lot of these nodes and this whole path just seems way worse than it would normally, where if it currently generated, this would be like a strong consideration.
I love the left path. It reminds me like so much of Legion Paladin.
Yeah, I have Tears really good, or whatever it is.
Yeah, but that's like the left side with like the Avenger Shield. Like I love that like kind of play style.
Yeah,
especially like if you can
Tears
actually
Enforcer feels good.
All right, so now tell me how you would alter this build right now for something like Mythic Plus, and even if you do want Divine Toll Mythic Plus, just kind of take me down the left side to talk a little bit about that.
The issue with like Protpal is that you're forced to take so many of these talents that you can't really go down the left side, because you need to go down to the consecration one on the right side. No matter what you like, no matter what type of content you play, you need this talent, because like 5% less damage. Yeah, like taking 5% less damage. No, keep this.
No, I am. Okay, so I can keep it. That's fine. I just think it would be easier to like actually show where you're going by like keeping everything except for that, and then just building out down here.
We can do that if you want to.
Yeah. So basically, you have everything selected here that you would need to have the consecration thing currently. So you have 16 more points to build it out.
Yeah, and now the issue is that you need to go down the middle, no matter if you're doing plus or rating. So you need your wall, and then I would go Sentinel for M+. I mean, if you're doing lower keys, you could probably go away with Might, but usually tanks are, you let to live a lot of time.
Dude, the more I'm looking at Sentinel, man, I know I'm like bringing it up again. This actually looks fucking crazy. Like so good. That is something that could absolutely swing the balance of power between tank defensiveness. I really think they're going to nerf that, actually. I think that's so good.
We'll see. Yeah, I think so as well. But yeah, you need Bulwark of Order 2 points, and then just get to healing people with it. Yeah, Hand as Protector. Okay. And now, like, here's the issue with going the left side, that you still need to go down middle.
First of all, but while doing Mythic Plus, do you think you would still take 2 Chargements of Judgment?
Yeah.
And everything up here is the same? Okay, sure.
I mean, if you go up, the thing is for M+, you also kind of want the right node, where your consecration deals more damage.
Okay.
This one, yeah, but you cannot afford to take it. That's the issue. There's so many talents that are like really good that you just can't afford to take, and this is like one of them, I think. But yeah, anyway, so you need to go down the middle, like we just did.
Sorry to respond to someone in my chat who said, Paladin has not been seen in a world first kill in Mythic end boss raid since, in all caps, forever. Do not nerf Sentinel, and he's misspelled Sentinel. I found that to be, that's just literally wrong, but like, all good. Okay, so Mythic Plus, you're grabbing Faith's Armor because you have to, feels like shit. You're grabbing Final Stand.
Yeah, and then the right side again, and let's go down to, what is it called? I have
tier, yep.
And now, like, the question is, how many points do you have left here?
You have 4 points remaining total. And
yeah, this is the issue, because if you want to go down left side and go like Avenger Shield build, you definitely want to go down all the way, because then you're going to do a lot of damage. But you don't have enough points.
You need to go all the way down the left side of the tree, and just assuming you're also... So Farron Marcus's strength is like what you would take if you were taking Focused Enmity, for example. But if you're ever going an AoE Mythic Plus thing, you're clearly going Tears Enforcer, which is a fine choice between these two, a defined choice between these two. Then to go down to the complete bottom, you need 2 more points somewhere, and it's like, where are you even gaining those points? You're already not expecting to consecrate.
Yeah, there's nowhere, like, this is the issue with Protpal right now, that you don't have enough points. There's too many like big nodes that are like 2 out of 2 that you need to take. Because like any of these nodes, you cannot really... The only thing you could skip is like the healing and damage node to go down there. That's below the at the right of Sentinel. Yeah. But like you don't want to skip that either, because it's like such a powerful...
You can't skip it because it's the only connection to the middle. Like, because
that
Sentinel doesn't connect. So like, if Sentinel connected, it might fix it. But...
Yeah, I mean, do you want to skip taking 5% less damage in consecration? Sure, if you're doing like weekly keys. But if I was doing any like high key or challenging content, I would definitely want this one. And that's like the main issue. I feel that you're so locked to so many of these talents that you cannot make like a proper build without losing something cannot afford to lose.
Would you play Bulwark of Righteous Fury if you were to ever make it down here?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I would do very like But if you play this build, you do a lot of damage in M+, or AoE in general.
Yeah. It just feels bad because you don't get the generation of Holy Power with Avenged Shield. Like it feels so.
Yeah.
So maybe just this, where just to give you a little bit more reach, it would be nice to have, like, I think, is it 4 more points in this tree? And the easiest way to do that, I think, is removing. So you could make a few things baseline. We already talked about the Avenging Might thing, but that's kind of separate. Making Bulwark of Order, Light of the Titans, Resolute Defender, and Strength of Conviction 1-pointers. They're in the middle of the tree, so it's like you don't really want to invest because like you're able to cross paths pretty easily.
I also think the points down below the Hand of Protector should also be 1-pointers, both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do, and I don't think they should give you just like way more points, but if you had 4 more points, it would allow you in a Mythic Plus scenario like this to slam the Avenger Shield stuff, grab the Consecration damage reduction, grab Consecration damage increase, and Consecration's 50% larger and slower.
And that one you don't really need, but but also
it kind of lets you fill out the build where currently you're not really filling out the build because you're never not taking this shit. It's too good. So
in a scenario you would never drop Eye of Tyr. Like that ability is so broken.
It feels bad not to get Divine Toll and M+ with like, because you're going down the Avenger Shield row and you can't get Divine Toll and it feels bad, but there's just no way you could ever get it. Like it's just so many points you have to commit.
But also, like, not even Eye of Tyr, but like the middle tree in general. You know, you have the CDR on wings and your wall
but that's
on the right
one of the
side,
strongest talents.
Yeah, and the Babble Taunt, and like, it's like there's no way you don't play this. You know, like I would love to have Divine Toll as well, but then above Divine Toll, you had block from Word of Glory. You know, it's like I don't want that. You know, there's no way I want that garbage over the CDR stuff. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So there are a couple things I like in here. Like a few of the choice nodes make a lot of sense. Like the choice, depending on the content, would clearly make sense, and you would use both of them, except for the Sentinel one. Tears Enforcer and Farron being a choice, you would almost never take both. That's cool. I think Righteous Protector and Gift being a choice is cool. I think you need like just all the way across here. A lot of these things that are spread out like this, it's actually like, okay, I could see taking one or the other based on the content. I do think maybe one thing this tree could do better is maybe connecting these sides at the bottom better, where right now you're taking like Guardian of Ancient Kings, and to really go down, you kind of need to like also heavily invest in 2-point talents here. Like you said earlier, reducing these to 1 would make it way more accessible, or creating a pathway from the middle to the bottom capstones. So like, for example, as soon as you fill up the stuff here, Guardian of the Ancient Kings can actually path you into everything at the bottom instead of having to get this stuff too. I think there's a lot of stuff to potentially work out, but there is a lot of good stuff in this tree. I don't think this tree is very bad at all, actually. I think this gives Paladin a lot of power level and a lot of choice. I just think they need a little bit more choice by just giving you a few extra talent points by reducing the cost of a few things. But other than that, I think it looks really good.
I agree. I mean, we just like you said,
except
like,
for this.
That one has to go. Like I think you could even replace that just with if you replace it with one of the talents above.
The one that extends Ardent Defender would be nice. Like I like
or like
extended Ardent Defender.
Or the haste to like take less damage in Consecration or like anything, right? And then you just gain all these points for free already. You just make if you make the Consecration a 2-pointer and we replace the Shield of the Righteous one and make it a 1-pointer, you just gain 2 points for free, which is like a great thing. But I don't know if it's doable or not. But
yeah, seems good. All right, so I think we're going to move on to Ret, but do you guys have any final thoughts on the Prot tree in general? I think we had a really, really good conversation about it, but some things I was thinking too is like maybe like up here, like maybe make Hammer of the Righteous a little bit more interesting. Like I think it's kind of lame if you just play Blessed Hammer most of the time, but if it's pure single, you're like, oh, I need a little bit of damage. I'm going to play Hammer of the Righteous, right? Like I feel like Hammer of the Righteous, at least to me, I've like played Prot Paladin for a very long time. Like I played it in a lot of the World First Race stuff in BFA. Hammer of the Righteous does not feel good to play. Like hitting Blessed Hammer feels way fucking better than hitting Hammer of the Righteous. So if you're going to keep that as a competitive thing, it can't just do slightly more single target. There has to be something more to that. And the inner light should actually just be replaced, or have it function like Iron Fur, when it can just be a passive damage source to choose inner light, but you don't actually have to let it expire, because that's ridiculous to constantly let every single one you cast expire for maximum damage, and just have it so this always just triggers X seconds after you cast Shield of the Righteous, right? To where this is actually...
I would like it to be like Brambles, maybe like ish. That's instead of you after you game block after it runs out, it would be like, like the Druid Brambles talent, where like while Shield of the Righteous is up, you reflect like 200 damage from each melee attack back to the attacker or something. Then it would gain maybe some value in like AoE situations, but like, yeah, the Inner Light just has zero use. It's just, it goes against how you want to play as a tank. You don't want to drop your active mitigation for any reason, really.
All right, I think that's it for Prot. Unless you guys have anything else, are you good?
Yeah, I mean, Divine Toll maybe should also, like, even though they might change it to generate Holy Power, like, it should also echo the cast on the main target still. Like, if there's only one target, it should cast 5 Avenging Shields, because it's, like, right now, like, it literally just casts 1 on the target, and, like, that's really bad for a 1-minute CD. But if it actually casted, like, 5 like it used to with their conduit, it would be a bit better, at least.
Okay.
But like
yeah.
that as a cooldown seems like really
that's
bad.
one of those things where it's like PvP diff. Like I feel like that could only not exist because PvP. That's another thing that's like a broad overarching thing over all of these conversations, is that these are being built for PvE and PvP at the same time. There's definitely a lot of criticism to be had if you're thinking that, you know, there's just some classes in this game that, you know, their trees are not going to be as good as they could be in PvE or PvP because they're trying to do both, and those two things are so vastly different.
Yeah, because even in Raid, I'd probably not go for Divine Toll and just go for the 200% damage on Shield of the Righteous, but it's one target, or Avenger Shield, just because Divine Toll is so weak that it barely makes sense to go, even if it generated a lot of Holy Power.
Alright, that is all. Thank you guys, and also, I will...
the last thing.
Oh,
Can I say
yeah.
one last thing?
Yeah,
If they could reshuffle a bit of the talents, because right now you have like all the defensive stuff on the right side, and you need it, so you can't really go, you know, when we look now on the left side, I would love to play it, but I cannot play it because there's so many good defensive talents on the right side. And I feel like all the defensive ones on the right side, which is not needed because it's already a Protpala tree, you know, so I would like them to maybe shuffle them around a bit so you have a mix, that you don't only, you know, yeah, I'm going right side, I lose a ton of damage. You know, it should be like, yeah, I will go right side because I want Divine Toll and I gain a bit of damage and a bit of defensive, instead of, and then I go left side and I only gain damage, but I don't gain anything defensively, which is apart from like one node, I think it is, above the
yeah,
that the deal list. Yeah, I know it's weird.
I think that's on purpose because like a lot of the DPS trees, for example, not a lot, but a decent amount, have like a very clear single target and AoE side. Like if you look at Frost, for example, like cut right down the middle, everything over here cleaves and does AoE, and everything over here does single target, like almost everything. And I think that's probably their idea with tanks. There hasn't been a ton of tank trees. But the ones that have been released, I don't think anyone other than Paladin really looks like that. It's kind of just like spread out amongst it. It's not like a half and half thing, but it's very possible that person made DPS. The person who made the Paladin tree made some DPS trees and kind of had that idea. Because like when you imagine it, and I imagine it's very, very hard to make these spec trees from scratch. Actually, I've looked at a lot of them in the community, and like 99 out of 100 are like bong cloud as fuck. Like they're ridiculous. Like they would never be real, right? So it's possible like when they lay this out in their mind, they're like, okay, this side is this side is this. And a lot of that is for lore reasons instead of like actual gameplay. And I think this is just one of those times where it actually like comes into fruition. You can kind of see it in like a couple of the other trees where it's like clearly lore based. Like for example, the DK, the left side starts as all Frost. The middle one starts as all Blood. The right one starts as all Unholy. But like if you were making it purely based off gameplay and not lore, which I understand, it's like WoW's the game it is, it probably wouldn't look like that, right? So it's always going to have a little bit of an element of that, but it is something to look at. All right. Anyways, that is it for the tanks. What I will do is if they ever do any major changes like they've done to Hunter and Rogue and stuff like that, I'll just like randomly call you all on like a Friday or some shit, and we'll just talk for 30 minutes to an hour about the changes they made and talk about like the, you know, how that affects the game and how that affects Paladins, good or bad changes, the direction they're going, stuff like that. But until then, you guys are free to go. Thanks for staying up now.
Thank you. Wait, am I speaking? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a blast. Always down to discuss some stuff. Maybe we can do some tanks again. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then Scott, thanks for coming on. Although I don't think you're going to better. You're a turbo degen, right? So you're not actually up.
I work in hours. So.
Okay, never mind. Thank you for staying up.
I'm taking, man.
Yeah. All right. See you later, dude. All right, Bolas and Narco, your time has come for Red Paladin. So, general thoughts on the tree before we start building it. Not the class tree. We've already gone over that. I think there's a lot of issues there. How does the red tree feel to go down? Do you feel more powerful than you were in Shadowlands? Are you able to do like new... There's always been like 1 minute ret. Is there like new archetypes that make you more powerful in different situations? How does it feel?
I have a big issue with one thing. The main thing I would say about the tree is the tree looks pretty decent. It's just that red right now on retail is stuck where you can choose a weak cleave or single target, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of And this tree takes that to the next level. Like you can on this tree, you could go pure single target. You're not touching anything else. You're a turret. You're standing there blasting, you know. Or you can go more cleave and you have no single target almost. Or you can go full AOE and you have absolutely no single target.
But
and
you're an AOE machine. Yeah.
Yeah. If the sims are good, then yeah, sure. But we don't know the 100% numbers yet. But technically, yeah. So that is kind of my opinion. Is like I'm just not a massive fan of that. You know, red has always been an issue where we don't have the passive cleave while also doing single target, like other classes can do with warriors and warlocks and stuff, or rogues even.
And DKs, yeah. That basically every other. This is actually my biggest gripe with Red Paladin for the longest time is the binary choice to cast Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm. Yes. Is something that most other melee don't have to make that decision.
The fact that Divine Storm costs Holy Power has tilted me for so long now, I can't even explain it.
Yeah. There's like one or two talents that you can kind of pick to mitigate that a little bit, but it's not by much. It's not anything massive. It's still basically the same. You either are hitting one target or you're hitting everything.
The best time that I can say that this was kind of okay was like mid Legion, when you have like Blessed Hammer, you were playing with the... I don't know.
Great Judgment.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like there was one time in like Nighthold-ish where you were like kind of good in like everything. But, yeah. Never since then.
It sort of feels like you've got a lot of powerful tools, because there's a lot of legendaries from Shadowlands that you can pick multiples of, that you can have like a bunch of them in combination that you couldn't have this
that's
expansion. Good. But there's also some weirdness with how you end up picking talents for builds. Like it ends up sort of, I feel like you just pick a bunch of powerful things that don't necessarily have a lot of synergy between them. You sort of like, there's a lot of things that are really easy to grab, so you just grab them because they do a lot of damage, but then you sort of end up all over the place with what your synergy is actually like, if that makes sense. We can work on it specifics when we go down the tree a little bit. But
yeah, they did add a couple of new things that I think are cool to think about. So they made like a choice node to make, and who knows about the power level of it right now, to make Wake of Ashes a spender on a much shorter cooldown with keeping a lot of the same. It's a little bit weaker, but you can cast it more often. Obviously, if you have like a lot of passive holy power building things, like for AoE, for example, right? Like if you're doing the like consecration, you're just kind of gaining holy power while you're AoEing packs. Like it's possible you actually have enough spenders to want to do that, or how it would compete with Divine Storm. Looks like it's a little bit better. I think that's cool. I think the couple of the capstones I thought was really nice. I don't know how much of this stuff you guys have now. Obviously, Divine Toll and the Divine Resonance, Liadrin's Fury, Crusade is still a popular pick. And one thing I do find cool about your all's capstones is that you have the option to get multiple. I actually highly prefer the like 4 capstones and able to get like 2 or 3 of them, basically, if possible, or halfway down to a third one.
You get 2.5. Usually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then the ones where you have to just like hard commit to 2, because I think the decision making is like a lot more interesting. If you guys want, I don't know how you want to split it up, but you guys talked about making a single target build, a cleave build, a AoE build. I would like you guys to just go through all of those and alter them, starting with the single target, moving towards the AoE, and talk about the power level for each of them compared to how it is now.
The big thing, just like the single target one, is you don't fully know if at the bottom, if the left side's going to be good, if you're going to go like Final Reckoning, Divine Toll and stuff, or if you're going to go more into the Final Verdict and Hammer of Wrath, Crusade with Mad Paragon. There's 2 options. The main thing with the single one is kind of the middle part. If you see Wake of Ashes, Executioner, and Executioner's Will, that's like, if you're picking them, I feel like you're locked in to single target. That's like what I would say is the main lock, my opinion at least. I don't know what other people think.
Okay, so yeah, when I was making these trees as well, trying to avoid execution sentence and an AoE thing, it kind of seemed weird that it's like the middle point of the tree to branch into both. Yeah. And we'll kind of go through, I'm sure that'll come up in the builds, but it's something where it could maybe be in a different spot. All right, so let's just do pure single based on what you guys think right now.
Do you want to do the tree, or do you want me to do the tree?
You can do yours, and then I can do mine single target.
Sure.
I like that, yeah.
Okay, so, pick Blade of Justice, Art of War. All the Blade of Justice stuff, pretty much.
Yeah.
So as you go down. Divine Storm, you kind of have to take the Crusader Strike Charge and the Judgment CD. Shield of Vengeance, you have to pick to get to Wake. And then, Wake, Execution Sentence, and the one below that, Execution as well.
Sure.
Pick the Judgment cooldown. Sorry, not Judgment damage yet. That one.
Judgment damage, okay.
Yep. And Righteous Verdict. This one, it's kind of just depends on what the tuning is like for the actual Consecration Holy Power. It's kind of hard to test it because it's so random on Alpha. But I think the once every 10 seconds one's probably a little bit better in a power.
Sure. Okay.
Because it's more consistent.
Yeah.
You take Exorcism just because it does so much damage.
Okay. That's actually cool. I like that.
Or is it broken? I haven't really played with it.
It's not like broken, but it does like just a single cast does more than a TV. So like,
Okay.
you know, you just may as well just take it. I would take Zeal, which is up a little bit.
Right here. Yep.
I would take Long Arm of the Law, which is next to Exorcism.
Okay. And then now you have 3 more points to unlock the capstone level.
Yep. So I take Healing Hands.
Okay.
I think I missed Blade of Wrath, which is...
Yeah,
Yep.
Blade of Wrath up here. And then you have one more
And we
point.
have one more point. I would think the Wake reset is probably still strong enough, even if it nerf numbers. It's only 35% chance to reset instead of 50 like it is on with the tier set on live. I think that's still probably good enough to pick over something like Fires of Justice or like one of the other random talents, but it could end up being that you spend that point somewhere else.
Okay. And then with this natural pathing, you do actually, at least in the single target build, you have the ability to actually go down every single capstone naturally, which is nice.
Yeah. You can sort of mix it up a little bit depending on which path you want to take. I think my take is probably going to be maybe a little bit unusual, but I would want to take Virtuous Command and take 2 talents and the Ashes to Ashes, because the Seraphim procs are just really, really insane. And then I wouldn't necessarily take Final Reckoning. I'd want to go over to Relentless Inquisitor and take 2 points in that.
Okay.
Take Crusade, and then take Vanguard's Momentum next to it. And then the last point, you can either pick Final Verdict or Final Reckoning. I feel like Final Verdict might just be better on just pure single target, but you could just take Final Reckoning as well. I mean, you're taking Execution Sentence, so it's like it has a lot of synergy. It's just you're not taking some of the other stuff that synergizes with Execution Sentence in this expansion. So it's more just Execution Sentence is just kind of like a better Templar's Verdict than like a thing you're focusing your entire build around.
Okay, so before we like have his do his single target build, how does this compare to a single target Ret Paladin right now? How different does it play? What is the perceived power level just based on its gameplay? Forget tuning, right? Just like what the class is able to do when it's bursting. Obviously, it has like way less AoE or cleave capability than a current Ret Paladin does if like an ad set were to spawn. Do you feel rewarded in a single target scenario gameplay wise right now than having to lose the opportunity to AoE by selecting this?
It has a lot more frills to it, I guess is the best way to put it. Like having Execution Sentence and Executioner's Will is more than you have currently. It still has the whole tier set that you have currently as well, and you also have Crusade. So there's like a couple of cool things going on that are all pretty fun to play with and pretty fun to try and sort of optimize and play around with. But yeah, I don't know. It's not picking Divine Toll feels kind of bad. If there is going to be a cleave, I think you kind of have to, you're sort of forced into picking it because it's so good when there's more than one mob. It's just when there's one, I think the prop guys are saying the same thing, but it just, a single judgment without bringing clarity is just so bad. I think you can afford to pick it.
It's just because like getting Divine Resonance is nice, but the fact that you have to go through a 1 point that is basically worthless on pure single to get there feels really bad. But I don't know if there's really a way to solve that because I assume it's pretty strong in AoE, right? So, okay, so this is Narco. What did you do differently for pure single?
The main thing is just you see it on the right. I would go more right than he did. Last rights. If you see the blue Blade of Justice.
Oh, I see.
One,
yeah. What do you drop to grab that?
Well, you can go. You can just drop something and go up. I haven't picked Exorcism, for example, yet.
Okay.
I can root Exorcism. What do I have picked here? I go 2 in Temple's Verdication when you have it there ready.
Oh, this one in the middle? Okay.
Now,
Which one of these do you drop, Virtuous or Relentless?
I do not have Vanguard's Momentum at all. Because it really, it's good because it synergizes extremely well with Crusade. My only problem is with everything you have right now is I don't know how many globals you're actually going to have. Because I actually have picked Fires of Justice. I'm going very much of a Legion build. If you see, it's under the Blade of Justice, Blade of Wrath actually. 2 under the blue one, 2 under the blue.
Oh, here you go. Okay, Fires of Justice.
That one. Because I remember when I played with this in Legion, it was incredibly strong. I think it was Legion. And actually having some generators with some other things, this actually makes it pretty strong in my opinion. What else did you pick? You picked Ruin, right? I have not played with Ruin at all, so I can't really say. You picked a talent in it. It's the one next to.
No, that's the Wake reset, right?
Oh, Wake reset. Sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't. I thought it was the Ruin one. Yeah, I haven't really played with that. The Wake reset is good.
That's definitely a point you can put somewhere else. It's not that one's definitely not mandatory.
Yeah, I kind of value more the getting actual the Blade of Justice, the expert, because I remember BFA that was kind of broken at one point, and I don't know how the tuning's gonna be when it comes to that point. Like, is the Blade of Justice just gonna like annihilate? So I'm just thinking maybe instead of Wake of Ashes resets, we kind of just go for the Blade resets and just like guarantee that and just spam it constantly, like at one point in BFA on a shard tier. I want Divine Toll and then the next one under Divine Toll, because I don't know how that one actually works with the deemed unworthy, which is every third judgment you do 4% more holy damage for 8 seconds. If every one of those judgments, those 3 judgments, actually count towards it, and the Divine Toll also counts towards the third successful judgment, then it's kind of OP. But if it doesn't count to it, I wouldn't pick the one under Divine Toll, and I would go somewhere else with it, like maybe the Blade of Ruin, Path of Ruin, or Exorcism. But I don't fully know yet. It pretty much comes down to numbers. The only difference in between me and his is kind of just like he's going a little bit more haste, right, and double wrath, and I'm going Final Reckoning and not Exorcism. That's kind of just the only 2 difference, yeah. Yeah. Well, you need the Divine Toll. What do I have? You have something I don't. Have?
You would run the singular point in Divine Toll for pure single?
Yeah, because you combo it with Execution Sentence. You combo it with Final Reckoning.
Okay.
You just have everything.
It doesn't do that much anymore, though. They took out one of the ranks.
As I said, like the numbers is pretty much it. For me, it's just more of how you're gonna do as a playstyle, right? The numbers are just gonna change constantly. Because
they took out one of the spell ranks of Judgment, so it does about a third less damage relative to your other abilities than it used to. And it's going to transfer over to Divine Toll. So it's going to be kind of like, I'm not sure, like if you're taking Divine Resonance, I think it's worth it. Like you can put 2 points in that and you sort of get enough value out of it, but just Divine Toll, I'm a bit skeptical.
Do you think it's going to work with Extra Judgment, the deemed unworthy, or do you think it's not? Because if it doesn't, I feel like it's a dead talent.
It should work, but I don't know if those 2 are also worth taking, just because I don't think Last Rites is very good. Demon Worthy, I think, is like decent if you take Last Rites anyway.
I would only go Last.
Do that much damage.
Yeah, I would only go Last Rites and Demon Worthy if it like fully stacked up and you went for that full like big execution sentence and trying to keep it as long as you can, right? Because I would more use Divine Toll as like a generator to keep it up, because you said the bug. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to pop into the Execution and do so much damage. No, I'm kind of just trying to extend it as long as I can. And if I also can increase the holy damage with it for free, like, it's not too bad talents. But otherwise, if that doesn't work, if you're not going Divine Toll, those 2 talents are completely dead. Like, in my opinion. But then if you're also not going that, then it goes more towards yours. But then you kind of just become this Templar's Verdict spamming machine. You don't really have any big cooldowns. You have wings, and then you're just sitting there like a turret, right? And as soon as you gotta press anything else, you're just like, help, You're pretty much just stuck in the situation of I can only do boss. That's it. If there's ads, bro, I can't touch that. Yeah, like I can't do any cleave or anything.
Yeah, that's
like swap into like take out points in Vegas Momentum and Final Verdict and just pick up Final Reckoning and Divine Toll instead if you wanted to. You could just swap those out 3 points. So there's some swapping you can do, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just don't know if I just feel like Ret, with having to give up the ability to really do any cleave. Like, just imagine a fight like what's a single target fight with some ads? Like think of like a Nerva Darkvein, right? It's not a hard boss, but like it's basically a single target fight. Like single target's the only thing that affected you killing or not killing that fight. The ads can kind of die whenever, but a lot of melee classes especially are really good at just like having a little something every 1 minute to kill those ads, right? Like like I think Ret, by going pure single, I don't know if the payoff is there to where you're doing like crazy shit on pure single, but you're also losing the ability to do what you did last expansion by just like having a lot of burst for just random ad spawns like that. And that's maybe what doesn't feel as great.
Talent Tree, in my opinion, is a very weird spot because it's gonna come so much down to the boss and how hard spells actually hit on live. In my opinion, making a tree, you can make a tree and you can go currently like base and you can say, oh, currently Divine Toll doesn't hit as hard, so let's just not pick it. Demon Unworthy, who cares? And and you can say Path of Ruin is OP right now. It's like doing crazy damage. Like, we have to go at Exorcism. It's basically like a free Templar's Verdict. Just press it. Like, you can do stuff like that, but I don't
You're
know.
thinking more of the concept of what it should be. Like you're thinking Exorcism shouldn't just be a free TV on single target, right?
Yeah,
Probably not. It doesn't. The damage seems like too much for the single target amount. It should be probably a bit more around the dot.
It also cleaves, right?
Yeah.
Or it gives at least the dot to everything in your consecrate with the AoE build. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just afraid that Reds are not going to be brought for their single target. Like that's not going to happen in my opinion. When you bring a class purely for its single target, that's very,
That's very tuning based on the raid. It's like a
yeah,
crapshoot.
and it's also it comes down to the fight, but I would say probably 2 times out of 10 you would bring a class for literally this guy does so much damage, no one can even come close. Like for example, rogues were at one point, but there was that feint, so whatever.
Yeah, that's what I think is weird with this tree. Is if you're thinking about bringing a Ret Paladin right now, like I think for a Ret Paladin to be like they're gonna be tuned around the fact that like Red Aura exists, right? And like if you're only bringing one Paladin to your raid, you're probably gonna be Devo, which is what we were talking about earlier. So like, like I feel like in a way they're losing a little bit of power because of that. So like one interesting thing from last expansion to this expansion is like the required classes you need because of raid buffs that were so powerful, either that they were actual 1 hour raid buffs like Fort and Int, or things like Warlocks where Hellstones and Gateways are just as much as a raid buff as anything else. Like you have to have a Warlock, right? Like there were 7 of those last expansion. This expansion, not counting like DK grips or anything like that, there's like 12. So there's only like 8 spots left in the raid, really, if you're playing optimally to like fill in your raid at the moment. Yeah, that's a big change. And like imagine bringing in a second Paladin off of the one you already need. Like I feel like Ret needs more is like my only thing.
That's kind of like, for example, think about a Shara. The only reason you brought a Ret for the last boss was because he used Blood of Enemy and did the most AoE of everyone, except DK later on when people found out about that. That was kind of it, I just don't like pure single target builds. I've always hated it, and Ret has always been stuck in this thing where you do single target or AoE. It's the same with our legendary choice now. You can do the Tempest Verdict legendary, or you can do the Divine Storm legendary. If you do M+, you have to use the Divine Storm one, and your single target is just awful compared to everyone else in the game.
So speaking of that, let's see what it looks like when we start this all over, and let's not even do cleave. We'll actually meet in the middle after this. I want you to tell me what full Mythic plus AoE Blaster Fortified Weak Ret Paladin looks like, and you can just do it off of my screen and just take me down just from the top, because I imagine it's a lot different.
Not hyper different. I would say it's very similar than what he said. It's just more you go left side first, obviously. You pick the 3. You have to pick Art of War just to get faster. Blade of Justice 1. Holy Blade, that is.
Okay. Then you have 2 more points to spend before you can go down. Looks like you need to grab Shield of Vengeance, most likely.
What, did you pick something else? Yeah, you have. Yeah, you don't have to pick Shield of Vengeance, but I assume for M+ you kind of do.
Well, you want Wake of Ashes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's just like, which one do you pick? Do you pick the 1 second Judgment or 5% crit? I guess the Judgment is just too good. You have to. 1 second is.
I mean, it's just more Holy Power generation, and the crit and doesn't really matter in AoE.
I guess you just go Wake of Ashes. You would go for the reset afterwards. Here it just comes to have Ruin or Ashes to Dust, the one next to Ashes. It just depends which one is better, honestly. Like whichever sims the highest, that's the one I would pick.
Yeah.
You have Calm Before the Storm on the left, next to the Templar's Verdict one.
Okay.
I personally would. I think a good Consecration build is kind of the way to go for AoE. I don't know what Bolas' idea is. I don't know if he has tested a lot.
It seems like, I mean, it felt like there's so much Consecration synergy in this tree. That seems to be, that is definitely the thing they've focused on as the new thing to add to Ret Paladins is, like, they want Consecration to be a major part in synergy in AoE.
If you also look
at something that synergizes with it, it's kind of a bit much.
The thing is you also have, if you go to the class theory, Craig, because we do kind of want to go Consecration, Divine Storm stuff, yeah? You have Hallowed Ground, and you also have, I'm not going to try and say that word, the one next to it, on the class tree, not the...
Oh, okay, yeah. It's over...
On the right side. So you have Consecration increased by 10, and you want one left of it, which, when you actually put it down, each Holy Power spent. I think those 2 talents are kind of needed to do AoE. Maybe
I feel like they're just very undertuned. Like, if Consecration did more damage, it'd kind of be a bit different, but as it is, Consecration just does so little. Like, even with all these talents you take, you can invest, 6 or 7 points into buffing it, and you'll still just prioritize building Holy Power and using Divine Storm over actually pressing it most of the time in AoE.
That's something that they could definitely just buff Consecration though, like just baseline.
That's what I'm honestly I'm going with they're actually gonna buff it because there's too many talents that are actually just going towards Consecration. I don't see why they wouldn't buff it. Like I feel like they want us to play it at this point. I see too much Consecration stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they don't want us to play it unless it's purely for I don't know something else. But maybe I'm blind.
Okay, but then so you grab probably Sanctification, I assume, if you're playing the Consecration build. The Holy Power from just damage done by Consecration probably scales with targets. Interesting to see how many targets that scales with, if it's infinite or if it has some kind of ICD on proccing. Be definitely interesting to play around with that. Are you grabbing AoE Exorcism?
Yeah. If you're going that, you're definitely doing that.
Okay.
Let me see here.
There's 14. Let's see, 6 points until you can unlock capstones.
The thing is, you can start going right side and go down and get. Well, it's either gonna be Crusade or entering. I feel like Crusade is probably better. So you could probably go on the right side, but I just don't know if you want Virtuous Command and Ashes to Ashes. Ashes to Ashes is really good, but you kind of have to get through Virtuous Command, which is good, but.
I mean, one of the problems with all those traits that you had to go through is 2 out of 3 of them are mostly just single target. Like the Timber's Vindication is just single target, and then Virtuous Command is mostly single target. Relentless Inquisitor is the only one that actually gives you some benefit in AoE.
So I'm assuming, what are you grabbing to get down to like the Fires of Justice Imperium Power node? Or are you? Are you doing the Blade of Justice causes a consecrate on the target location?
If the numbers are correct, you probably would, right? The thing is, Art of War gives you so much holy power that not picking it is kind of like...
You can take both. You'll have enough points.
If you have enough points, you would 110% take both. Because, like, I would value Blade of Wrath over the other one, even if you're going for a Consecration build, just because you get more procs, and you can... If you're playing Ashes to Dust, you can proc more, yeah.
And then Imperium Power, I assume? Still,
I would assume Imperial Power is going to see more, yeah.
So, absolutely.
And then the Divine Storm AoEs in front of you for 20% of the damage. And then to go down to Relentless Inquisitor, you have a choice for like Justicar's Vengeance, Eye for an Eye, or the healing stuff.
Really depends on it's going to come down to the dungeon, but Healing Hands is usually just free. Yeah. Well, I didn't pick the Judgment one, actually. What's your opinion about that one, Boundless Judgment, in like, let's say, in a plus setting? Because we had that in Legion, I think. Unless I'm thinking wrong, or was it BFA? I don't
so, it depends on if you're running the stuff that synergizes a bit more with Blade of Wrath, where you want like the extra procs for the Seraphim procs and stuff like that. If you're running that, I think Zeal is just going to be better. If you're running Divine Toll as well, it can, like, if that works properly, I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure I tested it and it did. Then having like a bunch of judgments just all bouncing after Divine Toll is actually kind of sick. It could be good. I think it's basically on AoE. You pick it if you aren't picking the stuff that cares about, auto attack synergy, and then otherwise you just pick Zeal because more procs is just really good.
So yeah, of the like, okay, but now we've unlocked the capstones as well. Also, what about do you guys want to? We haven't really talked about Eye for an Eye or Justicar's Vengeance at all. How do you guys feel about those?
Awful. Remove them from the game.
They Justicar's Vengeance, literally season 1 of BFA.
Eye for an Eye is like very niche useful. Like I think you could use it on like Sludge Fist, the boss like that, and it's like, it gives you a defensive, but the times where you actually want like physical DR in PvE scenarios is not very often. And Justicar's Vengeance, I don't know why they keep putting this in the tree. Like,
I don't know. I
don't like it.
Someone plays it at Blizzard, yeah. Someone plays it. I don't know who.
I have to assume no one ever uses it who like in any kind of actual real content. So I don't know.
I cannot think of a time when anyone played it for more than like
5 holy power too. Oh boy. All right.
Yeah, it's
wow.
Is it still you need to stun the target? Yeah, it's still the stunned version. Yeah, great. Love stunning raid bosses.
So maybe replace or rework Justicar's Vengeance. All right, so now that you have 20 points, where are you going in the bottom part of the tree? Relentless Inquisitor, two things. Crusade, most likely.
You want Crusade 100%. Like that. I feel like that's like you go to and you just like pump, right? That's my opinion. At least.
And I'm assuming AoE Divine Toll, right?
Yeah, I would go. But I wouldn't go. Really depends. You could go a Virtuous Command and get both those two. So if you go,
yeah, that's what you do. You run on Reckoning and Divine Toll. You have to take out some points from previous.
You can do that unless you want Divine Resonance as well.
I feel like
I don't think
I feel like you do, but
if you're picking Boundless Judgment and it works the way you think,
yeah,
then it could be good. Yes.
I think there's a couple of like for my tree on AoE. There's a couple of points I would do differently in the middle, but overall it's pretty similar.
Well, you would probably pick Truth's Wake, right?
I could definitely take out, or no, I can't take out anything. I can move around anything up here. Like if I can take points out of, I have like the Blade of Wrath stuff here. It's like that stuff could be taken out and it doesn't affect pathing and can add a point somewhere.
It just comes down to pretty much this whole, like, let's call it build, whatever. It's kind of just comes down to Consecration, yeah. Like, if Consecration is still just not good at all on launch, there's just so many talents you're just never going to look at, yeah.
Yeah, my stuff doesn't have either of the Consecration talents, and it has...
Yeah, like, you're pretty much going with the knowledge that you have now, and more of a build that's, like, current, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because Ret is very similar to... Ret now is very similar to how Ret's gonna be. If that makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And see, I don't like that. Like I just don't think that's good enough with what's available. Like look at Ellie, right? Like Ellie right now. Again, I'm probably using like maybe one of the best trees as an example, but I mean I think like classes should absolutely strive for their trees to be like this. They have everything they could possibly have now, plus AoE Ice Fury, real funnel back in the bottom right of the tree. They have the ability to pop a 3-minute cooldown that can now be extended by spending things inside of it to over a minute. They have the ability to have 2 charges of Stormkeeper and heavy reduction on it to actually have, you know, some usable AoE cooldown for anything that spawns on a fight. Like they have everything they have now, and the potential for so much more different damage niches, everything, to where if you're looking at an expansion to where you're having trouble fitting, and also I'm not even to mention how infinitely more tanky they are. I mean, it's absurd how much more tanky they are than they were previously, and they were already one of the tankier ranged in the game. Other classes, especially ones that are lesser brought to content, just need more than that. The Rets just need more, and I would say maybe by giving you a few more points on the tree to play around with. One thing we didn't really talk about is Hand of Hindrance being right here seems really weird.
Yeah, it's in a really weird spot. Like there's a couple of ways if you want to build single target that you kind of end up picking it as your choice node to get down to the bottom of the tree. Like all those ones where you have to go through what's effectively a utility node to get access to the bottom of the tree it feels kind of bad. Like I guess the intention is, if you're forced to pick a utility one, you know, then you don't feel bad about picking utility as much. But Hand of Hindrance just doesn't do anything in most PvE situations. Like
it's a really good ability. It's definitely really fucking good when it's useful. But I mean,
when it's good. But
yeah, other classes that pick their slow.
Having to pick it this low is weird. You can definitely tell that there's a row synergy here. So everything in this row outside of the nodes connected to Sanctification, Inner Power, and Imperium Power and Fires of Justice, these Tempest and Exorcism, everything in that row is utility, right? Healing Hands, Eye for an Eye, Hand of Hindrance. Clearly the idea of this row is no matter what to go through to the bottom of the tree, you're picking something that does not increase your damage. So that's why it's here. It does feel weird, at least more weird than like Healing Hands, just because Healing Hands is, I mean, just, you know, in general, way more useful than Hand of Hindrance. So yeah, I would say, isn't this weird too? You have like just like a 2% haste node right here. That's just like a very, but like you don't even consider taking it, even though haste is good. So
I mean, you could. It just depends on how some of the other talents are tuned. There's a lot of talents that are like borderline, maybe not even worth, you know, better than 2% haste. So there might be situations where you just pick it because nothing else before 20 points is actually that good.
Yeah, but what even is this node though? Like, why is this even here? Like, I don't know. It's not even really interesting. It's just like it just seems so weirdly out of place. It's like everything is here. It seems almost as out of place as like the Prop Paladin 2% armor one.
It's kind of like almost the only one that just does that thing, yeah? Like, there's no like, increase your mastery or something. It's just like this one singular 2% haste.
Seems like you have too many choices to really consider that. And then obviously if you're going to do Cleave, you probably dump a decent amount of the Consecrate stuff, and you just go back into having like still like the Execution Sentence tech, right? And then you'll just, based on the bottom of the tree, based on simming, determine what's better. Like based on ad spawns, Divine Toll could be a really good lineup. If you're running 1 minute, you probably will anyway.
I was pretty surprised that they didn't, or not that surprised, that they didn't put any kind of buff in the Ret tree, given that they've put buffs in a lot of the other spec trees.
What do you mean buffs?
Like raid buffs.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Because it's really hard to get a Ret into the raid, like even as it is. But then when they're adding raid buffs to like, you know, Assassination and Outlaw, like how many melee can you realistically bring to a fight?
No, let me actually just bring up something right now. I think it'll actually really help. Okay, so this is just something I made. I'm not done making it yet. The idea is to kind of assign a power level to everything that a single class or spec can bring to a raid, and then adding it all up to kind of see what classes really bring more than others in general, outside of just the obviously variable tuning that exists. But something I did at the bottom was kind of show a list here, optimal raid compositions, right, that existed in the either expansion. So in Shadowlands, you had this many slots to like fill out your raid. In this expansion, Assassination, money back guarantee required in high-end raiding with how that works currently. Outlaw, assuming it doesn't stack, you'll probably at least run one of those with its current power level, just with the classes. It's Outlaw is useless for some DPS classes, but for some it's very good. Let's just assume you run one and you can't just stack like 4 in a group. Obviously, it won't stack. That'll be too good. They'll nerf it. And who knows about the power level, but let's just say you run an Outlaw Rogue as well. Shaman Mana Spring's currently tuned really low, but they clearly tried to give them some kind of party utility. Also, both of those specs are fucking cracked. Let's just assume you run one because they're just really powerful. And Death Knight's on here because, you know, on a fight where you need grips, this is just another slot in the raid that's gone. Druid's on here because it has a raid buff, but also they bring twice as many Stampeding Roars as they brought per Druid in the last expansion, right? Like
you can already start filling this list even more in Dragonflight. Yeah, you can add another Warlock because we love 2 gateways. 1 gateway is usually not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Add another Warrior because Rally is extremely OP.
And so potentially Skull Banners coming back, more party utility.
Yeah, so you can just add another one of those. We love Inner Raid. Inner Raid is great. You can probably have another Druid.
And then even in an expansion, when when Ian talked about this at the beginning of Shadowlands, he mentioned how he wanted more melee slots in raids. Yep. He didn't think it made sense that melee, and they've done a really good job of that. You've been able to run 8 to 10 melee on basically every fight for the last 2 raids, so they have stuck to that. But it still just comes down to tuning on what is actually better, and oftentimes like bringing more range is still good. So like how many spots here are for a Red Paladin? And the reality is this, like, regardless of what they have now, Paladin is going to be brought to the raid if this is the truth. It just does most damage, and that's just a dice roll every tier. I don't know. Other classes are not playing with the same deck of cards. They have more things available to them. Other classes within the same role in a raid just bring more than Ret does, and I guess they have a little bit better stuff now because of spell warding. But I mean, I still feel like they're missing something.
Oh, spell warding is not going to make or break it.
Yeah.
It's just the problem, like, if balanced Druids, for example, didn't have Innovate and Roar and all that kind of stuff, right? You wouldn't ever bring a balanced Druid unless they did crazy damage.
Yep.
Like, they would be in the same situation as us. They're just lucky enough to have a developer that gave them something. That's, like, pretty much TLDR. Like, it's been the same problem for a long time, but Dragonfly is just going to make it worse, and having a Red Pal that just is in because he does a lot of damage, single target. Sure, you're in on Painsmith. Congrats. Now leave the raid. You killed the boss. Like that was me that tier pretty much. Yeah, like just because I did damage and they didn't need me for anything else because that boss just cared about damage really.
I mean, like, even times when like Ret's even good on damage is pretty much
they're
never
fine
as well.
now.
Like
they were fine.
It's usually like, you know, okay to bring one, but it's never like, oh, thank God we had the Ret in the raid, apart from like a couple of really specific AoE situations. Like
I would actually, sorry to cut you off. I think there's other ways to make them more relevant. Like I don't think every melee DPS spec that doesn't have relevance a lot right now needs a raid defensive cooldown. I don't think you could actually play into the classes like already built-in class synergy. Like the other specs in this game, like Heart of the Wild for Druids, they share a spec with a healing class. They're really strong. There's no melee class right now that really gives a lot of strong off healing. It's already here in the tree, right? Like you have the ability, if you gave more points and you made it so where Red Paladin was unironically like giving you like, you know, a noticeable amount of raid healing, that's an absolute valuable thing. Like you guys 4 healed what was it, Rygalon. Like every single shred of healing you could get in that scenario from a DPS class would matter. And like,
but that's no spell warding would have been good in that fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like both of them, right? But I mean, even regardless though, like just thinking about raid healing, like there are scenarios where, you know, VE is dog shit. Whatever the shaman one that they're bringing back for a few specs and has been back for Ellie is like not that great. It's like basically just Heart of the Wild, and they have to stop doing damage to do it basically. Like I feel like it's absolutely a way to give them some raid utility is to make Red Paladins be able to easily take these talents, and they do a significant amount of raid healing from a DPS player.
I was actually hoping that in this expansion they were kind of go a little bit different on raid buffs, and they were gonna give the DH buff that they give 5% magic to Red Paladins, and then give the monk one to Rogue. Like so they share it.
Oh
so
yeah,
you either bring
similar
a
to
so
similar to Hunters and WoD bringing multiple raid buffs,
so like
adding
you either bring a
redundancy.
DH or a Red Pala. That's what I was hoping. But
I think they need to do that because there's like you can either remove all raid buffs. Clearly, they're not going in that direction, so there's no reason to even talk about it.
No,
but if you're gonna add everyone having a raid buff, you need to add redundancy, and that also includes bringing back scrolls and like old drums, because like not even like for us, like we're gonna like figure that shit out, I guess. Like sometimes people don't get in the raid, and that's what it is. So that's why you sign up to do this. But like other guilds, dude, imagine like a 10 to 15 man AOTC without like 3 of those required buffs. Like you're fighting a way harder boss because your friends don't happen to play the right class, right? Like it's just weird.
It's just feel bad playing the classes that have nothing when other classes have so much, or a very important one like the DH one. Just give each class something. Doesn't have to be big. It can be something small, but on this fight, it's very good. Maybe like I was hoping that Paladins were gonna go get what is the aura we had in Legion? Sack aura?
Even something like Wisdom would have been sweet.
Aura of Sack.
Aura
of there you go. Like I was hoping something like that was gonna come back, and you had like a weak version of that and Devil Aura. So bringing 2 Paladins actually wasn't too bad, because one Paladin could play with Devil Aura and one could play with Sack Aura, and so I was kind of hoping something like this would happen. And I was also sort of hoping that that we would get some aura increase. So
that kind of exists in this expansion, just in a weird way. Because like technically, the second paladin you bring to your raid just gets to play red aura, and that's basically what that is. Except it's not a benefit to the raid; it's just a benefit to that paladin. Yeah.
Every class needs something that's just my.
Okay, yeah. So
it fits with Paladin class fantasy as well. Like Red's had raid buffs in the past. It's not like it'd be weird to give Red.
Dude, they took my wisdom and never gave it back, dude.
Yeah, they gave it to Evokers.
There was literally no joke. My raid spot. Yeah. Like I'm not memeing.
Yeah, and either way, like if they're just gonna go full on with the raid buff thing and every class getting some things, clearly some classes need more. Like Hunter is definitely one that's just like very clearly Blizzard has to address their lack of defensiveness and also their raid buffs. But I think Paladin is in a similar thing as well, because like obviously like Ret, you could always make the argument that Ret has had a raid cooldown in Shadowlands. That's true. Like Ret does have something. Paladin in general has something where you just have to have one in the raid basically at high level play. But like it was just another spec was better, and. Yeah. If that's the case for a whole expansion, you can go 2 years without that. But like you have to act about how that obviously affects the whole game.
Yeah. The only problem is you're competing with a Holy Paladin and a Prot Pala. It's completely different aspects of the game. Like I don't understand why Blizzard looks at that and be like, oh, you have a Holy Pala, you're fine.
So. Yeah, I don't think it's that far off either. Like I think it's actually already here in the class tree. I think Holy.
We had this back in BFA as well.
I actually think it should be Prot Paladins like raid utility as well. I think like both Prot and Ret should easily be able to take these off healing talents over on the left, where you don't even have to interact with it. It just does raid healing and it's good. I think that should, because this is good for Holy Paladin, by the way. Like Judgment of Light is strong. Like Golden Path is strong. Like if you guys if this just happens while you're playing the game, you would do way more passive healing than almost every class in the game. So like I just wish if they also solved the issue of like the general tree giving you more points, and we've talked about multiple ways that can happen. I think that can make Red like kind of matter, honestly, and I think it's an untapped niche that they have. But anyways, we're gonna probably move on to Holy. I just want we've been talking about it for a bit. Just any final thoughts you guys have about Red.
If Bolas has any interesting spec, you can say it.
There's a couple of
was different than mine.
Not specs, but there's a couple of weird like nodes I just wanted to talk about briefly.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah,
the Crusade one. It's so your choice is between 20% crit on wings or Crusade. So you're basically either picking baseline wings with no differences to what it is in Shadowlands, or you're picking an actual last row talent on the tree. It's not even a real choice. I don't think there's any situation you'd ever not pick Crusade.
we talked about this with the Prot thing. I think the solution to this is it makes absolutely no sense that Avenging Wrath rank 2 is on the general tree, which we talked about earlier. That should Avenging Wrath should just be a 2-minute cooldown and just replace Avenging Wrath Might in this slot, or just make it baseline like it is right now. It's just it doesn't make sense that it's there. That's a problem in every tree. It probably will be a problem with the Holy one next week.
Maybe a little bit more of a nitpick, but the Divine Resonance and Liedrin's Fury kind of just do very similar things. They both are just sort of periodic holy power gain during your cooldowns or just after you use your cooldowns. And I feel like they should probably, it'd be nice if they had clarity.
Be more unique than that, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 capstones that feel like they do the same thing. That makes sense.
Yeah. If they just had Ring Clarity instead of Divine Resonance, it'd also make Divine Toll a lot better on single target. Like Divine Resonance is still good on single target, but it is synergized better with Execution Sentence as well, because you get the full burst of Divine Toll within the very start of Execution Sentence. You get the burst of Holy Power.
Is that the one that you're mentioning? The one that has a chance to shoot multiple judgments?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been way too many PvP tweets that I've seen about that in Blizzard's scene to where I'm pretty sure they're going to add that in the tree. That's just a guess, though. I'm pretty sure that's why they wouldn't do that. Yeah, I agree with that. Also, it seems like there's no like super pumper AoE capstone too.
I'm reckoning it's pretty much that.
Yeah, I mean, but you also could take that in single target as well, is what I mean. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. It's on.
That's why I love Final Reckoning, because it's like all around. Like Divine Toll and Final Reckoning is like last year I felt like Ret was kind of in a decent state, right?
Yeah.
And then we got to this tier and we just became like an auto attack machine.
There's also a couple of sort of weird tensions between some of the talents in the middle. So like the Wake of Ashes reset talent, it's been nerfed a little bit to what it is in live. It's 35% instead of 30%. And I mean, it's probably still going to be good, but there's situations where you might go like an entire length of Wake of Ashes cooldown without getting a reset because it's a lot lower. But there's also situations where you might go almost an entire length of cooldown and then you get a reset on Wake of Ashes just before it's going to come off cooldown anyway. And then you're just wasting a Blade of Wrath charge. And there's also a lot of talents that synergize with Blade of Wrath proccing, like the Consecration drop one when Out of War procs Blade of Wrath, that drops a Consecration when you use it. And it has some weird tensions where, okay, you kind of want to take both these talents on AoE, but then you're losing the free Consecrations because Out of War is resetting Wake of Ashes instead of resetting Blade of Wrath, if that makes sense.
Currently, I don't like Ashes to Dust. Not if you're going on the right side a little bit.
Yeah, it might not be something you take anyway. It's just like some weird stuff, the way they sort of interact together.
All right, cool. I think that's, again, if they make any major changes to Ret, if you guys would like to, obviously we can talk about this again. I don't know. I don't know who the dev is for the Paladin trees, and I don't know what other trees they've done. Like, for example, it wasn't surprising to me when the Shaman one instantly got changes, even though it was already insane this week based on a few points of feedback, because they were the Hunter dev, and the Hunter dev has been insanely active with like responding to stuff and making changes, small changes. So I don't know who made the Paladin trees before this, but hopefully they are pretty active with talking about stuff.
The only thing I will say is that the Paladin, they should look more into auras and actually have a reason to bring a second Paladin.
Yeah,
that is kind of the only thing I would like to say.
I completely agree with you. Yeah,
like as I said, Sack aura it was such a good aura back in the day. Like it was your top healing by like miles when you used it as like your, on your 2-minute cooldown, whatever it was. Just having that little passive, I think they should look into it. Maybe craft something new. I don't know. Maybe give some speed for the whole raid, like monks. I don't know.
Something, anything,
yeah. Red Paladins are in need of a button. Yeah, they need help.
Just give me anything, man.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks for talking, guys.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.